Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto drops his mask in Percy Jackson. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by darthwizard and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Vampy New York. Sirens of impending doom and the noise of dozens of loud horns awoke a blonde-haired and blue-eyed boy. The light pouring from his crystal-clear window was comparable to waking up on one of those operating tables in Konoha. His warm sapphire eyes opened and closed as he tried adjusting to the light. The honking noises kept up, annoyed and still drowsy the blonde hastily got up from the bed he was on. He was dressed in only his underwear and he shivered as his feet touched down against the cool mahogany floor. "Arg, I feel like I drunk a bottle of Iro-sensei's hooch," said Naruto while he rubbed his eyes with the palms of his hands. It was right then and there that Naruto Uzumaki, Konoha's equivalent to Dennis the Menace, prankster extraordinaire, first-degree baddest genin, and the most unpredictable #1 knuckle-headed shinobi for the first time, laid his eyes on the city in front of him. Naruto's mouth nearly touched the floor of the room as he looked in awe at the great towers made of metal and glass that rose up to the clouds. Streets were paved as far as the eye could see with smooth black stone. Weird carriages were slowly moving in perfect symphony with one another without any horses in front of them. Hundreds, no thousands of people were walking the streets in clothes he couldn't even fathom, all of them wearing not a single similar style of clothing, along with people riding weird two-wheeled contraptions. And boy, that didn't even compare to the flashing lights from signs from various shops. Bright vibrant neon lights shined along every shop and street corner, but most surprising of all were the flashing images along big rectangular boards as wide as the Hokage Tower and plastered alongside the various behemoth buildings. Naruto nearly fell back as soon as he saw the sight. He sure wasn't in the elemental nations anymore. It was right then and there that Naruto broke out of whatever morning spell had overtaken him half a minute before. The room he was in was absolutely abnormal. A TV sat on top of a smooth wooden dresser that was right beside the door of the room he was in. Right beside the dresser was a work desk that had a small laptop on it. Beside the bed he now sat on to take everything in was a regular nightstand with a headlamp on top of it. There was even an open closet inside this bedroom with a set of clothes that seemed like they'd fit him. Placing his hands against his head, a sour frown crept upon his face. No, ugh, this is just a dream," Naruto shouted before slapping his face. "Ah." Smack. Smack. Stinging needles flared from the impact zones, leaving the frustrated young blonde even more confused about this bizarre situation. "Damn it. Doesn't that always work in the stories?" spoke the defeated blonde as he fell back on his bed. Mayhem continued to blare from outside. A large glass bottle smashed against a wall from the apartment above. Drunken shouting and some weird language flared from people next door. Why was he here? The last thing he saw were red eyes, darkness, and a bright light. The mission. He had to find Iro-sensei, but this wasn't home. Where he was before finally sank in. He could only think about one thing. Just how the hell was he even alive? Before the bright light, he was in some sort of dark lair in that city Iro-sensei took him to on his training trip. After all, they were sent there by one of Iro-sensei's spies, but in actuality, it was one of his sensei's drinking buddies. Not long after meeting the mysterious man whom his sensei mentioned many times before to be the most informed and most criminal informant Konoha possessed, well, let's just say Naruto's expectations had been far greater than what transpired in reality. The man had a scraggly beard, a very tanned olive complexion, olive eyes, a gold tooth, and hair as black as the night. He was a very intimidating individual and was accompanied by 3 goons. To say a master spy would look like some sort of villain you'd read about in a manga wasn't what ticked Naruto off. What truly ticked the blonde-haired teen out was the fact that after they had a long meeting his sensei had to give the man a ton of money in exchange for a stone tablet. Both Spy Master and Master Spy dragged the young genin to Emerald Bay's most exquisite casino strip club. In the end of the whole myriad of escapades Naruto and his sensei experienced within Emerald Bay to their final destination to the city of Aleppi. Naruto couldn't help but remember how those were the sorts of adventures he always dreamed about back in the orphanage. Aleppi was one of the biggest cities in the entire world, full of thousands of canals, crocodiles, various bridges connected to islands and continents, white stone buildings, magicians, spice traders, opium runners, mercenaries from all lands, and about 2 million citizens that called the city home. Naruto pondered for many months on exactly why the city was their end goal, yet after a typhoon, a visit from Akatsuki, then a run-in with a tribe of marauders, journeying through war-torn nation, and learning about the god's realm. Aleppi should have been the key to unlocking his true potential, and it should have been where their luck turned around. Let's just say Naruto's luck vanished as soon as he made it to that city. When he was kidnapped after visiting a fortune teller, the first thought that came to his mind was the Akatsuki. They had encountered them once, on their way to the famed city of canals. Instead, he was greeted by a bunch of weird vampires who he first thought were beautiful and cool people. He should have known better, few people were ever friendly and helpful towards him. After falling into their trap and cornering him inside an ancient labyrinth that was rumored to have been the gate to God's realm. A supposed mythical place of eternal knowledge and power. All mumbo-jumbo in Naruto's book, but his sensei on the other hand, suspected it to be an old sacred library filled with every jutsu ever recorded. After a long battle within the labyrinth, the vampire horde ended up defeating him fair and square. Tied up, his chakra suppressed. He suspected they just were looking for God's realm too. He was wrong, the entire time they were after him, and not even the Kyuubi. No, they were going to eat him. The last thing he saw before everything flashed in his eyes was the growling of some sort of disgusting beast. Bright red eyes glowed in the dark, and dozens of teeth as big as kunai appeared in front of him. He couldn't move an inch from the rectangular table he was chained to. Hell was greeting him. Then a blinding light. And to think that all happened just 5 months into the training trip with Iro Sennin. He was alive, somehow, but this wasn't home. Life lesson learned, right? Loud heavy knocking boomed from what had to have been the front door of wherever he was at. Naruto grabbed the spare clothes from the dresser and quickly dressed in some dark blue jeans and a plain white t-shirt. As soon as Naruto opened the front door to the apartment he was in, he saw no one. Except for a dark brown package at his feet. Naruto peered his head out of the apartment and looked to his left and right, but to no avail. There wasn't a soul in the hallway, which by the way smelled like sweat, alcohol, and a lot of tobacco. Grabbing the package and taking it inside, he opened up the package. Inside were at least 8 books as thick as dictionaries and a golden note atop all of the books. Curiosity got the best of the blonde and Naruto opened up the perfectly folded note. Dear Naruto. The time has come it seems. You probably are confused and scared but fear not. I wrote this letter as soon as I brought you here and I made sure not a single thing would happen to you. It's a mother's duty after all to protect her children from creepy crawlies, sinister ministers, and death. The world you are in may come as a surprise, but I know you will get used to it and likely love it. Give it some time. I want to say I've likely failed to protect you. I've realized that you have suffered your entire life through hate, hardships, and people hunting you down for what you carry inside of you. If only I could have saved you sooner, unlike most children who receive love or family, you drew the shortest straw. However, you are my son, and every child of mine always finds a way out of every situation, even when they are up against a wall with nothing to gain. You have always been special to me. I loved your father so much it still breaks my heart to this day for what happened to him. Your father was the man you've always looked up to, and it always surprised me that you wanted desperately to have followed in his footsteps to become Hokage. Minato Namikaze was your father and I loved him so dearly. He was bold, smart, handsome, and cared so dearly for me. When he found out I was pregnant with you well, you would have laughed if you had seen his face. Just know even though he was a good man, I still resent the fact he used a child of mine as a sacrifice for that beast, although don't hate him for it. His intentions were nothing but pure for many thousands more people would have died the day you were born if he hadn't done something. This comes to a part of the letter that may be the most important. You may have guessed you are in a different world. By saving you from the world you were originally from it comes at the cost of you having to hide the fantastic shinobi gift of chakra. Everyone in this world hasn't quite discovered magic or chakra to the extent you have. Instead, they have turned their talents to the more technical arts, such as electricity and something called the internet. Be very wary of when you use chakra because not only can regular people see it for what it is, but it can attract the wrong crowds of people. So use it only when necessary. Still, though I want you to practice up on your chakra control, and I've left you some books I've compiled on several different jutsu that even people in your world would be jealous of. Also maybe the most important thing is to study this world, study your English, your algebra, and most important of all your Greek mythology. You should be enrolled in Meriwether College Prep School for the following semester. Kids your age aren't off getting killed by evil cross-dressing snake men with superpowers, instead in the United States of America, we have something called No Child Left Behind. So you better spend the 2 weeks you have before you go back to school studying and catching up on your English. Besides all of that, I want you to know we may meet in person sometime in the future. I love you so much. I saved you because you have always been my favorite child. So stay safe, don't die, because I might be in enough trouble for what I've done for you as it is. Remember son, fortune always favors the bold. P.S. I'm glad I finally separated you from that lovable, perverted buffoon of a mentor. A strip club. I'll make sure he gets some karma from me personally. Don't worry, I know you care for that pervert and he thinks of you as a godson, but he's still got it coming for him. The note was covered in several wet spots as Naruto finished reading it. He couldn't believe it. His mother was alive. She saved him. Yet, he felt more lonely than ever as soon as he finished reading the note. The sapphire-eyed genin spent most of his younger years dreaming and praying to every god imaginable that his parents or family would save him from the orphanage, the hate, the beatings, the harassment, the sadistic torment, and the never-ending loneliness of being a Jinchuriki. After he discovered his burden, the only rationale for why no one wanted to claim Naruto Uzumaki was made apparent. Still, she saved him and loved him. Naruto quickly placed the note in the pocket of his jeans before his tears ruined it. Several hours later, Naruto finally found a set of keys to his apartment, a leather wallet with hundreds of dollars inside of it, some leather chukka boots, and a long-sleeved red-striped denim shirt, which Naruto left unbuttoned. He made his way out of his apartment and went down the stairs from the 12th floor down to the street. He currently knew little to no English, and he doubted anyone would understand the language of his homeworld. So to simplify things, he made several shadow clones, which were currently in his apartment trying desperately to quickly learn this world language. The people who passed by gave him annoyed looks as they went around the blonde-haired boy who had slowly made his way in front of the Empire State Building after several hours of exploring. One of his clone's memories came to the blonde in a rush, causing the genin to smirk. A street vendor selling "I Love New York" shirts along with many people wearing Yankees hats surrounded the streets of the famous monument. "New York City, you better prepare yourself. 'Cause Naruto Uzumaki's here to stay," yelled the golden-haired boy while pointing at the sky. Thunder rumbled after his proclamation, causing those standing nearby to look at the kid with raised eyebrows. For the first time this entire day, he could honestly say he felt like he could take the world by storm. Little did the Big Apple know what they now were in for. "God damn. This is what our taxes are paying for," yelled a man in his underwear with cowboy boots and a guitar in his arms. Chapter 2. Hippy-dippy Madness. Beep. 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 "Ah, Aim-chan, I said pork ramen, not the Ichiraku special," grumbled Naruto as he awoke to his blaring alarm. Looking at his orange alarm clock, he read 7:20, which meant he had plenty of time to get ready for the bus. Falling from his bed, Naruto picked himself before rushing over to his blaring alarm clock. Clicking various buttons never helped, except for setting the alarm. So the blonde resorted to his useful academy training by smacking the annoying piece of hardware until it beeped no more. Smirking a foxy grin at a job well done, Naruto joyfully yelled out, "Science." Naruto sighed as he made his way over to his bathroom. He had to get pampered up for another day of middle school. "TSK, no child left behind my ass," said the grouchy blonde while throwing off his undergarments. A nice cold shower would wash his drowsiness down the drain. At least compared to his cat-chewing neighbors or that coffee fanatic down the hall. He never needed an energy booster or an upper to wake up. All thanks to his vitality, his massive chakra reserves, and his burden. His neighbors still loved tempting him with their morning rituals. A week ago, Ms. Frappuccino kindly offered him a large bag of beans. Whatever these beans did mattered little because Naruto knew what worked best for him. He spent his entire life alone. Most American kids had at least one parent. He had himself. Living alone in the Big Apple brought many risks, yet even more liberties. His new routine wasn't much different from his old routine back in Konoha. Only thing he had to worry about was staying inconspicuous. Luckily, those evil child protective service agents hadn't yet caught on about his whereabouts. Last thing he needed was to get carried him away to some orphanage in Spanish Harlem. The blonde-haired early teen sighed as he rubbed his eyes in the shower with that thought. While exploring Little Italy one day, he lost track of the time while going from shop to shop, talking with Italians, hearing fat men discuss gabagool, and seeing people getting chazzed by old, angry women. Everything seemed normal for the blonde right until midnight when he had a close call from an old woman sitting outside her balcony who called Child Protective Services on him. He barely escaped that one, and he had to thank Kakashi-sensei for teaching him the tree walking exercise because without it, he wouldn't have hid behind some Italian flags on a rooftop. How was the close to 13-year-old boy to know that walking alone at night in the big city was abnormal? Guys like Tony Abramo, a fellow Meriwether student, told him that he was probably looking sketchy like a gangster or was loitering around for too long. He wasn't sketchy or a gangster. And to think loitering was illegal in this world. Hell, back in Konoha, kids had far more freedom, but at the cost of them having to fight in stupid wars and participating in Iruka-sensei's boring military exercises. Now that he thought a lot about it, this world wasn't that bad. To think this world had cars, the internet, planes, guns, railroads, radios, constant electricity compared to the blackouts in Konoha, air conditioning, and so much more to be discovered every day. The most mind-boggling of his discoveries was when he made his clones research this world's military forces. He discovered that most militaries around the world frowned on kids below the age of 13 fighting in wars or battles. Naruto chuckled below the jetting water as he pictured the faces of shocked adults and NYPD officers spectating his battle against Gaara. I should have been promoted to Chunin just for saving that ungrateful place. Naruto thought as he turned off the cold water faucet below his shower head. The more Naruto thought about his friends in Konoha, the more somber he felt. He left them behind and they all probably thought he was dead, especially after his run-in with those bloodsuckers. Despite missing his homeland from time to time, Naruto felt more happy with each passing day. From exploring the Bronx to sitting on his ass while watching cool TV shows like My Name is Earl, Robot Chicken, Hell's Kitchen, Maury, and SpongeBob. And then there were movies like The Thing, Goodfellas, Evil Dead 2, and The Lost Boys, which creeped Naruto out due to its realistic portrayal of vampires. All these things were on cable to pass the time whenever he was bored, which was always a recurring hassle for the blonde. However, what Naruto spent the majority of his time doing on his 2 weeks off before school simply was just reading from the thick books his mother had sent him. The thought warmed his heart as he slipped on his regular dark blue jeans, white t-shirt, socks, leather chukka boots, and light red striped plaid shirt, which he still kept unbuttoned just cause he thought he looked cooler that way. He had followed his mother's advice and finished one of her 8 books, all with the useful help of his shadow clones to boot. The book titled Learning English as a Foreign Language for Dummies, despite the humiliating title, did help him out with mastering what most people were saying and how to reply back to them. He still had a very thick accent though, which helped little with fitting in. Often when he spoke people thought he was an immigrant or was foreign. He made an effort to explore what most people called the Big Apple so that he could meet new friends and talk with people. Mostly it only helped him with bettering his English. He still didn't quite have a good friend here in Manhattan, which sucked by the way. Imagine getting transported to another world where you have to learn the customs of all the people on the fly. The technology is leap years ahead of what you were accustomed to, you speak with a rough-sounding foreign accent no one can put a finger on, and all your neighbors in the apartment next door spend their nights yelling and drinking in weird foreign languages. A great start indeed. Naruto quickly grabbed his brand new backpack he had bought the week prior after his horrible first day of school. He made sure to grab at least a couple of apples from his now well-stocked fridge and began engulfing one as he made his way from the 12th floor of his apartment down to the streets of Manhattan. It was currently mid-September and Naruto was doing his best to fit into his new American school. He passed by several tourists snapping photos of a hobo pushing a cart full of empty cans. A common sight in Manhattan, along with druggies, lurkers, hustlers, con artists, and the common annoying tourist. Naruto continued on passing by Hasidic Jews wearing black and white outfits and nuns silently passing by. He went over to a street vendor who sold books, snacks, and various other things a street away from his bus stop. Bus stops. He hated them so much he couldn't even fathom just how much he hated bus stops. Naruto remembered how on his first day of school he arrived at Meriwether an hour after school began just cause he missed his bus. Ever since that day, the golden-haired boy made sure to arrive at his bus stop 15 minutes early. Oh hi Blondie. Back again, huh? You know I made sure to stock up on some of those instant ramen you wanted. Said Sabin, bringing the lone genin out of his thoughts. Sabin was one of the few people in this world Naruto considered a friend. The man was from a mysterious nation called India somewhere half a world away. The man spoke in a weird accent and always seemed excited and happy whenever Naruto came by his stand to either look at the books or buy a snack for school. Naruto always talked with the man before the bus picked him up and sometimes they'd talk for half an hour. Their topics range from current events like some sort of war in Iraq to just cool places around the world like Bombay or St. Augustine, Florida. They both sometimes even talked about cool things like comics, ramen flavors, books, weapons, and various different mythologies. Naruto almost died of boredom the day Sabin lectured him about the stand owner's elephant statue called Ganesha. Thanks to his mother's advice, Naruto was able to steer that conversation toward Greek mythology, which created some mutual dialogue. Naruto probably looked like a fresh off the boat immigrant because Sabin gladly helped him out with his English, where to go, and all the ins and outs of the Big Apple. No one knew more about New York City than Sabin, resulting in Naruto becoming the stand owner's most loyal customer. If Naruto needed answers on where to get to Meriwether after he missed the bus, Sabin after all was there to help out the blonde. If the 7th grader needed a brand new backpack for school, well Sabin after all had a nice crimson Jansport backpack with a leather bottom and red, white, and blue cords attached to the zippers. All for the price of $40 with 2 packs of number 2 mechanical pencils included. If Naruto needed to know let's say where he could get his hands on some liquor for a party he planned to throw this coming weekend. Well, Sabin sure as hell was the source. Hey Sabin. What flavored ramen did you get? Asked Naruto while resting his hands on the stand's counter. His eyes scanned around for any new merchandise. He saw a row of toy guns on display, the newest issue of the New York Times, and even counterfeit Nike knockoffs. Ahaha. Boy, I've got a whole crate of those spicy shrimp flavored ramen you like. Also one of my suppliers also sent me some good stock of this spicy ramen. The spiciest in the world, straight from the Philippines," said Sabin as he showed Naruto a package of instant ramen cups. Sabin's golden brown eyes sparkled as soon as he saw Naruto's smile. "That's awesome, keep that package safe for me after school would ya? I gotta catch the bus across the street in about 6 minutes," Naruto said while scratching his head. "Sounds like a plan, buddy. Well, anything else I could help you with today?" Sabin said while placing various magazines and books on his display. Naruto's eyes locked themselves with a book on the shelf that read Bravo 20 by Andy McNabb. The description on the cover read the true story of a SAS patrol behind enemy lines in Iraq, which made Naruto shudder in what had to have been curiosity. Something about the book made him want to pick it up and read through it. "Haha, Blondie, you interested in finally learning about Iraq?" Sabin asked in a slight whisper. No, I was just looking at what you had. I'll take one of those Snicker bars," Naruto said while pointing at a random candy bar. Sabin looked at Naruto with a bit of curiosity, but in the end, both customer and the merchant exchanged money for a delicious candy bar. Before Naruto made his way to the bus, Sabin placed the book on his counter and smiled, "You've been a kind and very loyal customer. Take book for free, it's on the house. After all, you never know when such a book would come in handy." Naruto chuckled and scratched the back of his head while thanking Sabin. From there he quickly made it to his bus stop and waited several minutes for the bus driver to pull up. As soon as the bus arrived, Naruto boarded the big hulking contraption and made his way to the middle of the bus, where all of the nobodies sat. To say Naruto was a social butterfly would be an understatement. He had been able to talk his way out of numerous bad situations back in Konoha, and he occasionally got out on top. Like that time he had accidentally caught the academy's roof on fire, which by the way was an accident. Better yet, there was also the time Naruto, while homeless, dumped a cart filled with donkey feces from Hokage Rock. Naruto ducked down into his bus seat as an apple flew by his head, barely missing the poor girl who sat in front of him. Looking back and watching Matt Sloan and his two Duffus cronies snicker made Naruto's cheeks flare up. It was bad enough dealing with many of the assholes in Konoha, but just looking at Matt Sloan reminded the Jinchuriki of Sasuke. The only difference between the two assholes was that Matt Sloan had yet to shove a lightning-covered fist right by his heart. Matt Sloan had the eyes of a pitbull and shaggy black hair, and he always dressed in expensive but sloppy clothes, like he cared little about his family's money. Matt Sloan had made it his vendetta to terrorize Meriwether Prep for whatever reason. Naruto didn't really care until now. "What's your problem?" yelled Naruto directly at Matt Sloan, all the while the bus driver ignored the stupid children bickering in the back. "Turn your ugly whiskered face around, CV. You don't want any trouble," replied Matt Sloan, causing his two buddies to laugh like hyenas in heat at their leader's remark. "You trouble? Ha 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 ha. Sorry Sloan, but you should look yourself in the mirror sometime. You're as intimidating as a disabled Girl Scout," called out Naruto, causing several passengers to laugh. "Wow, such a great comeback, I'm just so scared, I think I'm going to cry." "Fuck you. Turn your ugly head around before I turn into stone," hollered Matt Sloan. Naruto glared daggers for a split second before turning around to look outside his window, which only caused Matt Sloan and his goons to laugh even more. "As much as I'd love to pulverize those assholes in a dissing contest, they aren't even worth the time of day," Naruto thought to himself. If Matt Sloan wanted a fight, that rich asshole had better come prepared, cause Naruto wasn't going to hold back until Matt Sloan was put on a stretcher. The bus dropped Naruto off at school, and his 8th day of school in America began. Naruto walked into Meriwether and made his way to his first period class, where Mr. DeMilo taught English. The man had a long red beard that went all the way down to his tie-dyed Grateful Dead t-shirt. He wore glasses and had a bald spot in the middle of his head. Naruto," spoke a tall, tanned, dirty, blonde-haired 13-year-old girl who stood outside of the classroom. "Hey Rachel," began the lone Jinchuriki with rosy-tinted cheeks. Rachel McGee was by far the hottest girl in Naruto's entire grade, and she was also his lab partner for S-class. All Naruto could say was, damn it. He was in a new world, new people, and had a clean slate as far as making himself into whoever he wanted. And he still had trouble with women. "Yes, just remember we gotta stay on our game for Ms. Tesla's class. Also Naruto looked into Rachel McGee's sparkling blue eyes and noticed the American girl blushing. Great, now he'd likely get sick too. Naruto waited under bated breath before Rachel sputtered out, "I don't know why, but you're looking a lot cooler today than usual." "Thanks, and so do I." Before Naruto could finish what he wanted to say, one of Matt Sloan's Duffus friends shoved him to the ground. "Haha, loser." Naruto flailed his leg at just the right moment to trip a scurrying bully, then quickly fled the scene. Rachel held out a hand and brought Naruto back up. She glared at the fleeing bully and smiled back at the blonde. "Don't listen to Matt or his friends. You're a good guy compared to most people here. Just don't change." "I'm not changing anytime soon." said the confident 13-year-old who grudgingly went inside the classroom. Class wouldn't begin for another 15 minutes. In order to make up for his blundering debacle on the first day of school, he settled for going to every class on time. Sitting down against his soft beanbag chair, Naruto couldn't help but admit how nice schools were in this world. All the seats were beanbags, the teachers wore weird music shirts and jeans to class. Not only that, but the teachers didn't give out any grades, and Mr. DeMilo played pretty chill music every day before class began. For the first time in his life, Naruto actually took school seriously and he was excited to make it to class every day. And because the teachers didn't give out any grades, all he had to do was show up to class every day. So long as he got along with the teachers he wouldn't flunk out, something that Naruto noted wasn't something he'd like to do. Mr. DeMilo was currently playing a song titled Dark Star, and Naruto thought it was probably related to the teacher's t-shirt. It was a nice song, it wasn't too loud, so Naruto took out his new book that he got from Saban and began reading Bravo 20. The surprising thing about the book was that the words didn't get jumbled up or mushy as he read along the lines. The only books that didn't seem to impair him were his mother's, the very ones she left on his front doorstep about a month ago. Not long after school began, Naruto was diagnosed with ADHD and a minor case of dyslexia, thanks to the school psychiatrist's quick diagnosis. The blonde-haired Jinchuriki should have been surprised by the diagnosis. However, it actually explained many of the reasons why he couldn't sit still through one of Iruka-sensei's boring lectures or why he always had trouble reading. The great thing about Meriwether was that the teachers based their curriculum on a word many teachers called progressive. He didn't really care what progressive meant. For the first time in his life, he felt like he could make a positive name for hims. Hey Whisker Face. Why are reading that big boring book? Just gonna say you holding that book doesn't make you any smarter. Commented Matt Sloan as he slammed his fist alongside Naruto's beanbag chair. Ignoring the waste of air, Naruto just continued reading his book. It was about a highly decorated British military unit called the SAS, Secret Air Service, and a failed mission in Iraq in 1991. The book detailed its gruesome events so graphically Naruto couldn't take his eyes off his book. Maybe this explained why Kakashi-sensei loved reading books so much, it allowed him to block out loud, annoying, obnoxious, sensitive assholes. Where most people would just leave and go back to their beanbag chair, Matt Sloan instead spat a huge glob of spit directly into Naruto's brand new book. The whole room felt like it had dropped 10 degrees in temperature. Naruto's sapphire eyes stared daggers into Matt Sloan's fearful orbs. For the first time, Meriwether's hottest reviewed bully flinched. Naruto's normally warm blue sapphire eyes, which occasionally caused some girls in his class to blush, turned as ice cold and calculative. He placed his book back in his bag, got up from his beanbag chair, and clenched his fists. Everyone in the classroom was completely silent as they watched a standoff between the new kid and Matt Sloan. Even the normally slow big hulk of a 7th grader known as Tyson watched the impending standoff in complete and utter interest and worry. Mr. DeMilo had run out of the classroom to go talk with a couple of teachers about some sort of book. The only thing that was left of the teacher's presence was the jamming music of the Grateful Dead, playing from the teacher's vinyl record. And formless reflections of matter. Jerry Garcia's normally calm voice sounded like a cacophony of dread, which further unsettled everyone currently inside of the classroom, with the clear exception of one Naruto Uzumaki. Percy Jackson looked at the scene in complete worry. Naruto Uzumaki, the normally kind-hearted, cheery, loud kid from some foreign country, was radiating a sickening energy that made everyone in the classroom shiver. This all went on for about a minute until Naruto said, "If you do that again, Matt, I swear." Before Naruto could finish what he said, Matt Sloan threw a spine-tingling sucker punch that echoed across the room. Naruto, who had been caught off guard for a second, shocked everybody by turning his head straight back up towards Matt Sloan. It was almost like the punch was like nothing. The next thing that happened, which surprised everyone present, was that Naruto grabbed onto Matt Sloan's receding right arm. Before Matt Sloan or his goons could react, Naruto pulled Matt Sloan towards to his body, allowing the new kid to knee Matt Sloan's stomach 2 times, like a battering ram against the walls of a castle. Naruto wasn't done though. With Matt Sloan's right arm still in his hands, he used the limb to propel Matt Sloan forward into the ground in front of him, causing the boy's nose to bleed. Matt Sloan's goons, not wanting their leader to get further humiliated, rushed forward with their fists clenched. Naruto ducked to the side, missing one of the goons, and then smacked the goon against his back 3 times, with just enough force to not break it. The goon fell forward on top of his leader, which caused the third doofus to raise his hands and back off like Naruto held a RPG in his hands. The room returned back to normal, and Naruto finally looked around the room, seeing various reactions. Tyson was clapping his giant hands like he was witnessing a Broadway show. Half of the girls in the class looked at Naruto in complete and total fear, as if he was a ticking time bomb ready to explode. The other girls were blushing and grateful as if Naruto slayed an evil dragon. Then there were guys like Corey Baylor and Percy Jackson who were both smiling. Percy Jackson personally gave the blonde-haired boy a thumbs up. The rest of the class was silent, with open mouths and shocked faces. Then everyone rushed Naruto asking him questions. How did you move so fast? Where did you learn that from? You never told me you knew karate. I can't believe you actually beat up Matt Sloan. That was so freaking cool. What an Edgar Allan Poe's depression is this? Out of the way. Yelled Mr. DeMilo as he shoved some students to make sure Matt Sloan was alive. If there was one thing Mr. DeMilo could live without, it was Matt Sloan. The kids spent half the time in their class laughing in the back of the classroom while disturbing the students wanting to learn. Still, Mr. DeMilo was required by the state to make sure all his students were safe, or else he'd likely be fired. It was all Naruto's fault, sir. Whimpered Matt Sloan while faking a cough. Mr. DeMilo turned towards Naruto, who currently had his shoulders scrunched up, his hands in the air and his eyes looking in one direction. The look of someone innocent trying to play innocent didn't fool the English teacher. Naruto. Report to Principal Bonsai's office immediately while I take Matt Sloan to the nurse's office. Corey, you're in charge until I come back. Said Mr. DeMilo as he helped Matt Sloan onto his feet. Principal's office, 3 hours later. Well Naruto, since you did fight in self-defense and you are new here, I let you off on a serious warning. Normally I'd give you this, but a couple of the students in your class have been rushing my office since first period wanting to testify in your defense. Said Principal Bonsai with some sympathy towards the young Jinchuriki, which made the whole situation less threatening than it actually was, but be warned. If I have to deal with another incident of you attacking those 2 boys again this year, or if I even hear about you beating up my students, I promise you, I will seek out the most fitting punishment. Do I make myself clear? Yes, sir. Naruto replied sharply. He wasn't a complete idiot to talk back or joke around in the presence of his current principal, who was a past Green Beret member. Okay, off you go. What's your current class? Asked Mr. Bonsai, his brown eyes radiating an aura of authority. Lunch, sir. That's some lunch. Also lighten up Naruto, I may be your principal, but I want every student to come to me like I'm the type of person they can trust. Said Mr. Bonsai as he started to polish one of his war medals on his desk. Sure thing, Mr. Bonsai. Naruto said before he quickly left the principal's office. Like hell that's going to happen. Naruto thought to himself as he bought some lunch food. Even though he was rolling in dough, he was planning on bringing his own personal lunches to school. A week ago, Naruto found out that he had roughly $40,000 in a small safe in his closet, which suited the 13-year-old well. New York City was amazing, but way too damn expensive. It made Naruto frown just because his apartment's lease would run out by the time summer began, and he currently didn't quite know anywhere else to crash. Hey Naruto, would you like to sit at my table? Said Percy Jackson. Percy Jackson was always a mystery to Naruto. The 7th grader had disheveled jet black hair he kept swept to one side of his head like he'd just gotten off of a walk around the beach. He had bright sea green eyes and had a slightly tanned complexion like Tony Abramo. Maybe Percy Jackson was an Italian too like Tony Abramo, although he had a regular American last name like one of the presidents in history class. Most people at school stayed away from Percy Jackson since he was one of the few kids other than Naruto to actually hang out around Tyson. Tyson towered over most people in the school, including some of the teachers. Still though, there was always something about Percy Jackson that seemed mysterious, as if the kid lived a secret that everyone else was oblivious to. Come on, every day I see you sitting by yourself, continued Percy with a grin, or with Tony Abramo with his clique. Tony Abramo sneezed beside his jersey-wearing friends who were playing a long game of BS. Damn it. Yelled one of his buddies wearing a New York Mets jersey. Ha 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 ha. Called you out, cocksucker. Yelled Tony only to feel someone tapping his shoulder. He turned around and saw a teacher and yelled out, crap. I think I'll take you up on that offer. Chuckled Naruto, he still didn't have a single friend at school. Tony Abramo, the friendliest of the popular kids, always got himself into serious trouble. The mad Italian kept him around because Naruto often told funny jokes and would partake in mischief with Tony Abramo, like the time they skipped class to go chase in Tony's words momos from Church Street, which turned out only to be tourists. Luckily Naruto had yet to face any repercussions, one of the many perks of being a shinobi. So Naruto followed the jet black-haired boy over to his table. I'm just glad I can finally eat. Principal Bonsai was torturing me for 2 hours lecturing me about right and wrong. The Star-Spangled Banner. The American way. Halfway through, I almost died. Percy laughed at Naruto's remark before saying, wow, you just dodged a bullet. Ms. Peabody is showing Tony no mercy. Why do you always hang out with him? For one, he's a savage, and two, he's not a bad guy as far as popular people go at this school. Plus, like me, he's supposed to be in the 8th grade, but because of circumstances beyond my own control, I'm in the 7th grade. Naruto explained to the best of his own knowledge. "You were supposed to be in the 8th grade," said Percy curiously. "Well, there were 2 bowls, but I think the order got mixed up in translation," finished Naruto with a nervous foxy grin. Percy nearly tumbled to the floor from laughter at Naruto's story. He found the blonde-haired blue-eyed 7th grader to be of some interest to him. After that whole incident early in the morning, Percy couldn't help but wonder how Naruto was able to take down Matt Sloan and his doofus friend like it was a cakewalk. Not only that, but Naruto always had a Joker story to tell. He remembered a day ago while they were in PE, Naruto asked Coach Nunley out of the blue, "Did you invent baseball?" The whole class laughed for about a minute while the ancient coach continued explaining the rules of the game. Both boys took a seat at a lunch table with Cory Baylor next to Percy and Tyson sitting beside Naruto. All 3 boys looked at the blonde in amazement while they watched Naruto vacuum up the food on his lunch tray in near record time. "Wow, you like water spinach," said a surprised Tyson. No one ate Mrs. Mitchell's cafeteria spinach, which looked like vomit and was watered down with nutrients. Except for Naruto, who gulped down another serving. "Well, I paid for it. Also, back where I'm from, my school never served us food," Naruto said while finishing his apple from his backpack. "Where are you from?" Percy asked while picking around a hair he found in his spaghetti. "Oh. I'm from Mississippi," Naruto replied back while unwrapping his Snickers bar. Luckily he remembered that state Saban had some relatives in. "Really, Mississippi? You don't even have a southern accent. Also, you sound like you're an immigrant from somewhere like Greece or Turkey," said Cory Baylor, who was the school's computer geek and obnoxious know-it-all. "Hey, are you going to eat that?" Naruto asked while looking at Percy Jackson's lunch tray. "You want more of Mrs. Mitchell's cafeteria spinach? Okay, if you want to." Naruto, not wanting to ask twice, engulfed Percy's lunch food like he taking part in a hot dog eating contest. Cory Baylor's eyes were still digging into him. "Okay, you caught me. I'm from India," answered Naruto with an obvious foxy grin at the answer pulled straight out of his ass. Good thing he remembered where Saban was from. Everyone else except Tyson sweat dropped at the remark. "What's India?" asked Tyson, rubbing one of his potato chip-sized nails against his forehead like he was trying to solve a complex differential equation. Cory further sweat dropped but dropped the conversation, noticing Naruto was feeling uncomfortable. After talking about various things for about 10 minutes, Cory Baylor walked off to go and check on something at the computer lab. Tyson was curious about what Cory was off to do and followed him out of the lunchroom. "So Naruto, where do you live?" "I live at the Fortis apartment complex. It's about 3 miles from here. It's not a bad place. My neighbors are from Djibouti and New Mexico, so they don't really know English, which sucks cause I don't really have anyone at home who really speaks English. So I usually have to resort to walking around the city like someone straight off the boat," Naruto said excitedly. "I think I know that place. It's about 2 or 3 blocks from where I live," Percy said while noticing Naruto's eyes beaming up as soon as Percy said that. "Really? Well, you gotta come on over to my place. You're going to be the first guest I've ever brought back home," stated the blonde while scratching the back of his head almost on impulse. Even back in his old world, Naruto never had guests come over to his apartment. He was still new at this sort of thing. "Sure thing. My mom wouldn't mind me coming home late if it's you," said Percy, his sea green eyes staring back at Naruto's sapphire orbs in amazement. "You? 7th Avenue?" Naruto and Percy both got off of the bus together and made their way over to Saban's convenience stand. The Indian's face brightened up as soon as he spotted Naruto approaching him. "Ah, young Naruto, and you brought a friend," started Saban while going to the back of the stand and bringing out a large 50 instant ramen cup package and placing it on the counter. "Anything else you need today, my friend?" "I'll take that geographic magazine, 2 Snickers, that bundle of bananas, and 2 cases of that Natty Light, along with a bottle of liquor if you have any." Yes. "Here's your geographic, your Snickers, bananas, I only have 1 case." "Wait a minute, you are too young to buy alcohol," spoke Saban harshly. Percy backed away from Naruto and the stand cautiously, not wanting to get caught in this impending dispute, but he didn't leave the area. He watched whatever was going to happen curiously, as if he was watching 2 trains crashing into each other at full speed. Naruto scratched the back of his neck. He thought this would have gone much smoother in his head. In the elemental nations there weren't too many restrictions over alcohol. Naruto was never much of a drinker to begin with, even though Iro-sensei offered the 13-year-old booze on many occasions. Hell, the only reason Naruto wanted the liquor in the first place was to impress the kids at Meriwether. If they enjoyed everything enough, maybe they'd become friends. He never had too many friends throughout his life, and he'd cut a finger off just to make some good ones in this world. "But friend, I can get you anything you want. Just write it down, come here before sundown and I'll have it ready for you. After all, the White Rabbit stand sells anything it needs for its customers." spoke Sabin, quickly going back to his usual nonchalant demeanor. Percy raised an eyebrow at the whole exchange. He wasn't completely sure why Naruto wanted to buy alcohol or why the mysterious White Rabbit convenience stand worker was ignoring maybe half a dozen laws for Naruto. Awesome. Naruto said while taking a piece of paper out of his backpack and writing down what he wanted. Also, I suggest anything but natty light. No customer of mine shall suffer the torture of drinking piss. Sabin replied after Naruto handed him the piece of paper and his money for all of the groceries. Thanks Sabin, and will this place still be open around then? No illegal activities take place while stand is open. It's a White Rabbit stand policy. Sabin said matter-of-factly. Awesome, have an amazing day, I'll be back later. Percy Jackson followed Naruto all the way to the 12th floor. Naruto nearly charged up the fire exit while carrying all his groceries to his parents' apartment. After suggesting to the confused blonde that they could use the elevator, Naruto looked at Percy like he discovered the most amazing revelation of his life. As soon as Percy entered Naruto's apartment, he was surprised to find only one bedroom. Still, for the typical Manhattan apartment, Naruto's pad was very cozy and spacious. A nice-sized sofa stood against one of the walls with various magazine pages taped over it. They were National Geographic posters, all of spectacular locations from around the world. There was a dazzling page-sized picture of Athens at night, Rome, London, St. Basil's Cathedral from Moscow, all lit up and covered in snow. There were even various natural landmarks like Mount Rushmore, Yellowstone National Park's geysers, the Smoky Mountains, Mount Everest, and the Great Barrier Reef. The magazine posters reminded Percy Jackson of his good friend Annabeth Chase, who Percy met the past summer when he first went to Camp Half-Blood. It was her dream to be the best architect in the world, and she spent her time outside of camp going around the United States visiting famous architectural landmarks. Percy looked at the wall curiously while Naruto was putting away his groceries. So Percy took a shot in the dark. So what's with all of the cutout pictures on the wall? Naruto looked up from where he was hiding his ramen and smiled, oh those are all the places I'm going to visit one day. That's pretty cool. I'd love to one day visit to Greece, Athens, and see all the sights. I heard the Parthenon is an experience of a lifetime, Percy said while pointing at the poster of the Parthenon atop a mountain all lit up. Really? That's so cool. I didn't know that's what people called that. I thought it was just an ancient ruin where there's buried treasure or a powerful ancient weapon. You know, like that ring from that movie everyone at school saw. Oh. Lord of the Rings, or maybe there are weapons like the ones those women in Hustler are always fighting with. Spoke the blonde, causing Percy to sweat drop at the comment. Maybe Naruto wasn't really completely like Annabeth, but his new friend still reminded him of her. Also, could I ask you, where are your parents? Are they still at work? Asked the wavy black-haired demigod, only to see Naruto stop in the middle of his ramen stashing scheme. The blonde boy turned his head to the side before looking back confused and gloomy. My parents? Repeated Naruto as if it was some sort of lost unattainable artifact. I'm the only one who lives here. Naruto nonchalantly went back to his errands. Percy Jackson looked back at Naruto with raised eyebrows and confusion. Oh. Said Percy, sensing the awkward turn of events. Hey, don't worry about me. Percy looked at the sapphire boy curiously, who grinned like a fox. My folks left me a family-sized bag of Cheetos over in the cabinet. Percy laughed for a minute, forgetting the whole issue. Remembering the alcohol, his purpose, and Naruto's needing his help, Percy simply asked, what exactly are you going to do with all that alcohol? And didn't you need my help with something tonight? Man, I thought I was an airhead, haven't you guessed? I'm going to throw a party here this coming weekend. I'll need your help spreading the word and fixing this place up so it's not lame. Replied the blonde while throwing off his backpack and jumping on the sofa with his head towards the ceiling. The party? You never came across as the party type. Laughed Percy, seeing a wide and grinning blonde looking up at him. You'd be surprised, Jackson. Back where I'm from we learned a thing or two about having fun. Said the blonde with a confident foxy grin. Percy smiled nervously. He wasn't quite the expert on stuff like that, nor was he popular enough to go around the school asking people to come to a friend's party. They'd probably think it was some sort of D&D slumber party with wizard robes. Percy figured Naruto was in the same boat as him, then again it seemed like Naruto seemed both confident and charismatic of his partying abilities. Little did the blonde-haired genin know that he made the wrong choice. Percy would more than likely bring misfortune to the party. His track record, constant bad luck, rubbed off on everything. However, both boys seemed to get along just right, and they needed a friend at Meriwether that wasn't just Tyson. Naruto took out his Alice in Wonderland book and started reading, before putting it down when he heard Percy say, "You came to the right person, Naruto. Meriwether's going to talk about this for years. Got any games?" Around 6 p.m. Naruto and Percy made it back to Sabin's stand, which was oddly closed at the moment. Both genin and demigod alike looked around the closed shack, but to no avail. About to give up and go back home, hey Blondie. Over here. Naruto and Percy followed the voice into a dark alleyway where Saban had 2 brown paper bags filled with goods. There were several hulking gangsters at the very end of the alleyway. One of them had a sash around their hips and the other seemed preoccupied with flipping a coin. Saban's eyes warmed up the smelly alleyway. Haha, I brought the booze. You two brought the dough. Got it right here, Saban. Naruto said before they both exchanged the goods. Percy looked at the both of them a little confused as if both of them were old friends. Good, good, good. Now remember boys. White Rabbit can get you whatever you need and always at right price. Said Saban with an index finger pointed in the air to make his point. Thunder boomed in the distance, causing Percy to raise an eyebrow, but he said nothing. Oh man, well we better go before it starts to storm. Right Percy? Percy looked at Saban closely to see if the man was possibly a monster. Something about the Indian man didn't quite sit right with him. Although, in the end Percy just raised his shoulders, sounds good. Gotta go home soon anyways before my mom gets worried. Okay see ya Percy. Naruto said waving at his new friend who waved back. Also Naruto before you leave, Saban started causing the Jinchuriki to stop in his tracks, know that if something happens good friend. Doesn't matter the reason. I left a card in that bag with a number to call. Naruto thanked Saban and they both left the alleyway. Friday night party night. Music played out in Naruto's apartment as kids from Meriwether all kept on coming in droves. Trying to get fellow Meriwether students to come to Naruto's party wasn't too difficult, not after the Matt Sloan incident. In response Matt Sloan threw another party the same night, although Naruto really didn't care if more people went over to his party. Even though Naruto's apartment wasn't too big, girls and guys from their class were dancing about like Tyson, Raj Mandeli, Tony Abramo and his various cousins, Susie Winters, Rachel McGee, Chris R. and Emily Goldblum. Currently Tony Abramo was in a contest with one of his cousins to see who could outdrink the other. His cousin who was a junior in high school was swiping the floor with his cousin. How the hell Naruto got high school kids to come to his party he'd never know. Over in the closet where he kept his broom and vacuum cleaner was a small line of girls and guys his age waiting patiently for whoever to come out. Naruto saw Percy Jackson in the corner of the room completely pale. He looked like he saw a ghost. Walking over to make sure his friend was alright, out of nowhere Rachel McGee grabbed him by his long-sleeved plaid t-shirt and asked Naruto for a dance. Not trying to be rude he accepted the offer. Percy Jackson was watching the party with a big smile on his face and everyone there seemed pretty happy. Still though, as soon as the speakers started playing Eminence Front by The Who, he saw the one person he thought he would never see again until summer. Middle school and high school kids went around Mr. D, ignoring the red-nosed, chubby-faced, and curly black-haired god. Mr. D was still wearing his usual tiger-striped Hawaiian shirt and purple running shoes. The only thing different about him was that he looked like he was about 19 years old, but Percy of all people could recognize the god Dionysus anywhere, even if Percy was a little bit buzzed. Making his way over to Mr. D as inconspicuous as he could, Percy saw Mr. D sipping from a red Dixie cup while analyzing the party as if he wasn't impressed. "What are you doing here?" Percy asked the cherub-looking god of Olympus, as if the man in front of him was stalking him. "Way to greet an old friend Peter Johnson," Mr. D said while glaring at Percy, "I didn't think you were the type of person I'd ever see at party. Aren't you in what? 6th grade? I'm in 7th grade. Oh my, I came to a 7th grader's party. I wonder if your mom knows you're here drinking at a friend's apartment, sniff ah. Smell that. Someone's lighting something up in the bedroom, hahaha. To think I thought this was a high school party," Mr. D said while sniffing Percy's shoulder. The scowl on Mr. D's face was enough to make Percy shake in even more fear. It was bad enough that he knew Dionysus was at Naruto's party, but to make matters worse, the wine god also had his mother's phone number. "I'm sorry about my attitude. I'm just surprised you're here. I mean, shouldn't you be at camp? Everyone there is already asleep. Isn't past your bedtime, Peter?" Percy stayed silent, but the wine god continued, "Don't you know, every party has a little bit of my influence to it. There's always something unpredictable about a party, something that can go wrong. People wake up the next day confused and ashamed, and I'm there taking notes so Apollo's children can have a script for a movie. Some say they go a little mad when there's alcohol, loud music, and drugs involved. Ah, I miss the 60s. Woodstock would put this Girl Scout meeting to shame," Mr. D said while drinking some Diet Coke from his Dixie cup. "You were at Woodstock. I created Woodstock. For 3 days even Zeus couldn't have compared to my influence. I remember seeing your grandma there now that I think about it. She took several sheets of acid and was showing a crowd of people her." Okay, I get it. You are super awesome Mr. D. Percy said quickly hoping the wine god wouldn't finish his sentence. "I'll forget the sarcasm and take that as a compliment for now. How about you go and enjoy the party?" said Mr. D, further unsettling Percy. "Don't give me that look, Peter. I wouldn't rat out on a pitiful demigod." But that Mr. D disappeared, leaving the smell of grapes in the air. Not long after the god of wine vanished, Percy's vision blurred and his whole world turned dark. In a dark room, two men were talking with each other silently. There was a red light in the middle of the room, and the light was shining directly on what had to have been a golden sarcophagus. "You sure this will work?" said the voice of someone Percy could vaguely remember. "Never question the Titan's will," said a deep and very threatening voice. Percy Jackson woke up with a pillow below his head and his shirt completely off. It was wrapped around his left eye as if he was a pirate, and the few other people passed out in Naruto's apartment weren't in better shape. Tyson took up Naruto's couch and was cuddled up with a stuffed rabbit next to his neck. It looked as if Tyson was strangling the stuffed animal, but that was just cause Tyson was huge. Tony Abramo's high school cousin was on the ground shirtless with another high school girl wrapped around his arms. While searching the apartment, Percy found Naruto fully awake in his bedroom, just looking out his window at the city below him. "You having trouble remembering everything from last night too?" said Naruto without taking his eyes away from his window. The blonde-haired boy had several hickey marks on his neck, and his normally messy, gravity-defying, golden-locked hair was in a total mess. "Yeah, what exactly happened?" "Well, you kissed Susie Winters, but then you had disappeared for a bit and I found you vomiting down the hall," said Naruto, who was still watching the city as if it was a TV screen. "Damn. How did I forget that?" said Percy while rubbing his eyes. He had to get home soon, but luckily enough he told his mom he'd be staying over at Naruto's place several days ago. "Don't know," said Naruto, then Percy remembered something from last night and smiled. "Oh yeah, I saw you making out with Rachel McGee after dancing with her for a bit. Then Emily Goldblum grabbed you and I think they got into a fight about something. I think one of them slapped you," Percy said, finally sobering up. Then a thought that had been pestering Percy's mind since the day Naruto first announced the party clicked in his head. "Why did you throw this party in the first place?" Naruto looked somber at the comment but said, "I just wanted some friends. I've always been trying my whole life to be accepted, but I don't know. I'm not really the party guy. I just wanted people to like me." Percy could tell Naruto felt upset, but he smiled. "Bro. I know how you feel, but you already are liked. If no one at Meriwether considers you a friend, well, just know I do." Naruto grinned like a fox and turned around and said, "Well, could you help a friend out with cleaning this place up? My room smells like Mr. DeMilo's classroom after PE. Training trip week 1. Naruto sat atop of a large stone rock as Iro-sensei looked at a note he had received a day ago. This had been going on for a while now, and boredom got the best of the blonde. After spending about half an hour in silence, Naruto occupied his time by practicing his chakra control. From tree walking, leaf balancing, to more complex things like chakra molding a small rock in his hands in order to shape it into an object. Iro-sensei had said it was a Jonin level exercise for mastering chakra control, but to no avail. Naruto sucked at it. "Hey Iro-sensei, I need some help with that exercise," Naruto pleaded with his head down. He'd been at the exercise for the last couple of days and had no real progress, except for his pride being taken down a notch. "Iro-sensei, I really need some advice on this," Naruto said a minute later. His sensei kept looking at the note, although he looked slightly more annoyed. "Iro-sensei, are you listening to me?" "Naruto, can't you give me a break for one goddamn minute?" yelled Jiraiya while frowning at his sapphire-eyed student. Naruto said nothing and held his head lower and just kept looking at the rock in his hands. Jiraiya looked up from the note another one of his spies had verified and saw Naruto's heavily downcasted look. For a split second the hermit sage realized what he had just said and felt slightly guilty over it. Naruto, despite how disrespectful he was to his elders, was always cheery, happy, and often made him feel like he had a real grandson. Seeing his student look so downtrodden and worst of all quiet made the hermit sage feel even more guilty. Guilty over abandoning him throughout his childhood, guilty over the trials the little brat suffered when he came back to Konoha, and guilty over how much he saw of himself inside of Naruto. "Look, I'm sorry I said that the way I said that," Jiraiya said after finally finishing the report from one of his agents. "Nah, don't sweat it. I know I can be annoying sometimes. I'm sorry I kept you from reading your research, Jiraiya-sensei," Naruto said while turning his head away from his sensei's gaze. "Naruto, look at me," Jiraiya said in a commanding voice. His student turned his head towards his sensei. Naruto's normally warm sapphire blue eyes that often radiated nothing but opportunity and happiness were now foggy. Jiraiya sighed before saying, "You don't ever have to be sorry about anything. You can be annoying as hell and a huge brat sometimes, but sometimes I deserve what's coming to me. You are my student and I chose you not because of what you got in your gut or cause of anything else. You are my student because you remind me a lot of myself." Taken slightly aback, Naruto's foggy eyes became wide and slightly confused. "What do you mean?" I mean that I need to make you into a badass before this trip is over. I worry about you, and I don't want to go to my grave knowing that a student of mine, who is being hunted by more than just Akatsuki by the way, will be able to fight every single one of his battles and survive. Naruto looked a little bit more confused, but Jiraiya continued, you know the reason why I've been looking at these notes. Well no. I thought it was more research material for your next book. Jiraiya smacked his forehead at that comment, look Gaki, I let you onto this secret. If these reports that are coming from my spies are true. And there's a good chance they are, then by the end of this 2-year vacation, even I can't predict how powerful you'll become. Naruto smiled at Iro-sensei, and they both got up and started searching for the nearest hot springs. Saturnalia Part 2. The night was dark, except for the bright flashing lights along Broadway. Naruto looked up in the sky and could occasionally make out the moon peering down from above. After making up his mind on taking part on this mission, the only thing Naruto could think about was his possible doom. If 2 prospects had already failed in their attempts at espionage, then Naruto Uzumaki was the most qualified man for the job in all of Manhattan. If he could sneak into the Hokage's residence and get away with the ultra-secret Uber Forbidden Scroll of Sealing, what would be stopping him now? Well, what do you mean back of the line? Naruto asked with the occasional clattering of his teeth. I said back of the line kid, now beat it or I'll call the bouncer. Yelled a gruff man. Naruto was about to protest with his hands in the air before seeing a sign which said 18 to enter and one below that saying bouncer IDs. Walking to the back of the long line of people who were just waiting to get inside of the Saturn did nothing to raise Naruto's spirits. He was tired and running low on chakra from that long chase across Manhattan from earlier. Those NYPD monsters were able to keep up with him even though he was pumping enough chakra in his legs to beat several world records. Naruto's spirit continued to diminish from the looks of amusement and disgust at his shameful walk past the waiting line of people. The line of yearnful partiers stretched down and around the corner of 50th Street. As Naruto walked by the many soon-to-be patrons he couldn't help but feel like he dressed too ruggedly for this place. Everyone in the crowd looked to be executives, rich college kids, and preppy New Yorkers from Brooklyn and the Upper East Side, and even gruff tough-looking gangsters in suits from wherever. Also it didn't help that he just turned 14 and still didn't have his driver's license. Haha mommy forgot to tuck you into bed didn't she? Said a pretty red-headed woman who Naruto passed by. Her comment brought the eyes and ears of the crowd of people on Naruto. Naruto's cheeks turned red and he walked faster to the back of the line. He had to think of something fast. If he could somehow henge into say someone about 30 years old he could very well fool the bouncer. Yet by the look of the bouncer with his black leather jacket, weathered face and huge biceps, the guy looked like he took his job more seriously than he should. The other bouncer beside him with hundreds of tattoos, a nasty smile, was currently turning down a cute woman with incredibly big boobs trying to get inside. Crap. He doubted he could get away with using the sexy jutsu on those bouncers, so plan C was ruined. My, you are such a cute little boy. Why are you here alone in the middle of Broadway way past midnight, said a woman from Naruto's side with what had to have been the most beautiful voice he ever heard in his life. Naruto turned and saw a black limousine parked beside him. The window of the limo was rolled down and Naruto stood speechless at what he saw along with several people in the growing line. A woman with smooth bright slightly tanned skin giggled and then smiled, how about you hop in and accompany me for a ride at Adonis? Naruto not being asked twice nearly sprinted at the limo and ignored the glares many men within the line gave him. The limo roared and sped down Broadway, shuttling Naruto away from his main target the Saturn, but at the moment Naruto could care less. One of the most stunning women Naruto had ever laid eyes upon just openly wanted him of all people to get inside her limo. The woman before his eyes made girls like Sakura, Ino Yamanaka, Tsunade, and Rachel McGee all look like disheveled crones. Naruto ignored the strange feeling in his gut about what most people would guess sketchy situation. The inside of the car felt so warm like he was back in Konoha. When the limo began to speed down Broadway Naruto fell back, right beside the woman who smiled at him lovingly. The limo's interior was lit up by a faint orange light and Naruto realized that both he and the woman were separated from the driver by a thick black glass divider. Naruto gasped and his heart thumped in his chest at her beauty. The woman in front of him was dressed in a light red dress that flowed from her body like a cloak with flowers stitched at the bottom of the dress. She had beautiful luxurious auburn hair that had some strands of bright yellow mashed throughout. Her fingers were rosy and Naruto wanted to grab them and hold them forever. It was like just being around her presence promised him nothing but hope and happiness. Yet the most beautiful thing about her had to have been her eyes. They glowed and burned in a light orange color and the fact her eyes were his favorite color made the butterflies in his chest fly around as if millions of caterpillars had just transformed into monarch butterflies. Wanting to say something smart, witty, impressive, and just awesome to impress her Naruto ended up saying something along the lines of, "Oh my, does my beauty intimidate you?" asked the beautiful woman with a giggle. Her light orange eyes all the while blazing into Naruto's sapphire ones. "And no, it doesn't one bit," Naruto stammered, his eyes wide and just wanting to take in her presence for eternity. "Well, my young hero. What is your name?" asked the woman with an amused smile that made Naruto break out of the spell she commanded of him. My name's Naruto Uzumaki, and yours?" Naruto asked while catching the woman's intoxicating scent. She smelled earthy like a combination of fresh cinnamon, mint, and the first leaves of fall all in one. An odd combination, but it reminded Naruto of the time he woke up early one morning to meet Haku and he spent the entire day picking herbs, smelling cinnamon trees, and watching the leaves fall down to the ground in wave. "Most people just call me Dawn." Dawn began with a playful chuckle. "You know, I find it ironic I ran into a hero on my way to the Saturn." "You were going to the Saturn?" Naruto asked, slightly surprised by the weird encounter he was now having. "Why, yes, I was. After all, I planned on making it to an important meeting there. Instead I ran into you, Naruto. You know why I picked you up?" Dawn asked while her amused and affectionate smile grew wider. Naruto simply shook his head and continued to suck in her very presence like it was heroin. He then remembered something she had just said about a meeting at the Saturn. Then a more fearful thought entered his head. 2 other prospects had died the day before. The Saturn was a hard place to sneak into, and a mysterious woman named Dawn pretty much picked him off the side of the road. Naruto looked at her dreamily, but with some worry in his eyes that he knew didn't go unnoticed. "Oh, don't worry, Naruto. I knew those old Greeks sent you to sneak into the Saturn and spy on a meeting that should be taking place within an hour. After all, sunlight reveals almost all shadows," said Dawn with a mischievous grin. Naruto looked at her slightly afraid and backed away from her slowly. What surprised Naruto next was the incredibly warm and soft embrace of her hands around his. Naruto couldn't fight her no matter how much he wanted to. His will just died with her rose petal soft hands. Her eyes shined with nothing but admiration and concern. "I told you not to worry. You see, I know almost everything about this world and most of the dark secrets that lurk in the shadows. The people who gave you that job sent you to sneak inside of the Saturn all alone, with no weapon, nor anything else to aid you, did they not?" spoke Dawn with full authority. "Yeah," Naruto replied. "See, you coming into my limo is the only thing keeping you from certain death. You may not have noticed, but there are dozens of cameras around the building. Armed guards in the crowds picking off suspicious-looking individuals. You were about to be kidnapped and you wouldn't have known a thing about it until you were locked away in a Chronia cage." Dawn said, her orange eyes glowing brighter. "Who are the Chronia?" asked Naruto, her warm hands taking his pain away and revitalizing him as warmth spread throughout his body. "The Chronia is an old cult that worships the great Lord Kronos. Dating back from ancient Greece, they have been lurking in the shadows and slowly gaining back the strength they once wielded in the mortal and immortal world until now. Saturnalia is based off of Lord Kronos and is celebrated from December 17 all the way until December 23. Naruto was trying to take in her every word and kept silent. "Now they are at nearly full power, and tonight one of our leaders was going to invite me to a special meeting to recruit them into Lord Kronos' grand army." "Why are you telling me all of this?" Naruto asked with pleading eyes, which only made Dawn smile even more mischievously. "Well, for one, even though I support Lord Kronos, and you will hopefully make the right choice to join his cause, I have many doubts over how effective the Chronia will be in the war to come. The group that wants to recruit you would be a far better choice. Join them, humiliate the Chronia, and survive the rest of Saturnalia. I already have a lot riding on you tonight, and the last thing I'd want would be for a handsome young hero like you to die," said Dawn, making Naruto blush. "Alright, I'll screw over those Chronia bastards," said Naruto, only to make Dawn laugh. "But my young hero. Now I have several gifts that may help you on this quest," said Dawn, who handed Naruto a weapons pouch similar to the one he had back in Elemental Nations. "Inside the pouch are what may seem like 3 small marbles, but be very careful with them. They pack a very blinding punch. Also, I'm to give you this, but I will want something in return." Naruto looked on in her beautiful bright orange eyes in utter confusion. He wasn't sure what was going on 100%, but if one of the people in the meeting wanted him to succeed, along with Dessa in their fight against the Chronia, then it seemed like all parties would come out on top. Not only that, but Naruto would get the Chronia off of his back and possibly a position in whatever group Dessa was a part of. The one thing confusing the blonde more than anything at the moment was the pleading look in Dawn's eyes and whatever request she wanted from him. The only thing Naruto wanted was to please this woman. "For helping me out, I'll do anything," Naruto said enthusiastically. Naruto's eyes widened when he felt her left hand against his cheek and her lips around his. The electric shock of their kiss made him feel absolutely happy, the happiest he ever felt in his life. If he died right there and now, it would all be worth it. Their kiss deepened and his eyes closed. Dawn surprised Naruto when she aggressively pushed her tongue into his mouth and tasted him. No matter how much he fought against the onslaught of her tongue, she defeated him. Dawn began wrestling her tongue against his for about a minute. Each time her tongue massaged his, Naruto only wanted to melt in his seat. The kiss would have lasted longer had it not been for a leak on the ceiling of the limo. Several drops of water fell from the ceiling with the heavy scent of a field of grass after a night of rain. Dawn broke apart from the blonde and smiled with tears in her eyes. Naruto looked at Dawn with a heavy blush and felt slightly awkward. He was a 14-year-old boy in the 7th grade. He had just made out with a woman probably in her early 30s, and to top it all off she was crying. "What's wrong?" Naruto asked, feeling slightly guilty. "Nothing is wrong, Naruto. You just remind me of a beautiful young man. Have you ever heard the story Eos and Tithonus?" Dawn asked. The blushing blonde simply shook his head. A long time ago, a very handsome, strong, young man with a heart bigger than any god's was loved by the goddess Eos. She loved him so much she did everything in her power to make sure they'd be together forever. He was mortal and she immortal. During this time, Zeus, you know about Zeus?" asked Dawn with slight anger in her voice. "Yeah, he's like the king of all the Greek gods on Olympus, right?" "Yes, he is the king of the gods." So Eos asked Zeus for one simple request. She asked Zeus to make her lover immortal like her. Zeus looked her in the eyes and granted her one wish. Spoke Dawn. More droplets of water fell from the ceiling of the limo as she continued the story. "So they lived happily ever after, right?" said Naruto, who looked at her with a blush. "No." Years passed on and her beautiful lover began to grow wrinkles. His beautiful black curly hair turned gray. His strong muscles turned weak and Eos could do nothing about it. "Wait, but I thought Zeus gave him immortality," Naruto said, slightly confused about the story. "Zeus gave Tithonus immortality, but the beautiful Tithonus grew older and older before Eos's very eyes. She went to Olympus and asked Zeus why her Tithonus was fading before her eyes. She thought he was immortal after all. Zeus laughed at her and told her she was foolish because he granted Tithonus immortality. She then requested Zeus to give Tithonus his youth back, but Zeus only said one thing, one simple request. Those words repeated in Eos's head as she went back to her once beautiful Tithonus. So Tithonus grew older and older. Until he shriveled up to the size of a grasshopper, his legs gone, his arms no more, his beautiful face disfigured. She loved him so much she wanted only the best for him. Instead, the gods damned him and Eos for just one simple request. Tithonus suffers in constant agony for all of eternity, and no matter where the goddess Eos goes, she hears his cries for death," said Dawn with tears in her eyes. Naruto looked at her slightly shocked. "What is the point of that story?" Naruto asked, feeling her sadness engulf him. "Take this vial, Naruto. If you are cornered with no escape, drink it. Promise me to live every moment to the fullest and to always be wary of the gods," said Dawn while wiping away a tear. The limo stopped and Naruto realized they were behind the Saturn. "We must part ways now. You have a job to do and I am meeting to attend." Naruto wanted to protest, but whatever he wanted to say died in his throat. The taste of Dawn still lingered in his mouth. She left a lingering aftertaste of the sweetest sugarcane and the most refreshing water he had ever had in his life. Naruto wanted nothing more than to kiss her again, however the look she gave him told him everything. Not wanting to disappoint the most addictive and most attractive woman he ever laid eyes on. Naruto grabbed the vial that had a strange purple liquid in it and smiled. She departed and left the blonde in the limo by himself to further formulate a plan. The Saturn. Breaking into the Saturn turned out to be an easy affair. Despite the odd itching feeling in his gut over breaking maybe a half dozen laws, Naruto smirked. Although he doubted anyone in the club could see it. Naruto hanged from the ceiling of the big loading docks of the Saturn like a vampire. However, his expert use of the Masegakur no Jutsu allowed him to follow Dawn's escorted group of 4 bodyguards through the loading dock doors of the club. Naruto watched Dawn greet a tall, handsome, college-aged young man with short-cropped sandy blonde hair, blue eyes, and a muscular build. He had a sneaky look on his face that evoked a sense of uncertainty. Naruto thought he looked like the spitting image of a god and reminded the blonde a little bit of himself. The only thing truly unsettling about the young man was a thick, deep pale scar that ran from the bottom of his right eye down to his chin. "I would have thought the goddess of dawn would have arrived earlier than the others," said the young man humorously. "Dawn comes early almost year-round, but around Saturnalia, I have the freedom to go and do what I please," replied Dawn with a smirk on her face. Naruto stood above them, slightly confused and jealous at her giving the young man so much attention. "Then follow me, I need your support after all if I am to convince Triumvirate Holdings and the Cronia to fully pledge their loyalty to the cause," said the young man while escorting Dawn out of the loading bay. Naruto slowly followed them from the ceiling with much difficulty. He had to maneuver over large pipes hanging from the ceiling of the loading bay and somehow sneak through the many doors that opened in front of Dawn and the young man. "I know for sure the Cronia will pledge their support to the cause. I'm just worried their army will be insufficient in their capabilities," said Dawn while climbing the stairs behind the sandy blonde-haired man. The Chronia have helped win many wars and battles as far back as the Diadachi. They recruited most of the monsters around Manhattan today to their cause. The promise of their once beloved lord rising from the depths of Tartarus will boost their morale. Not only that, but they have roughly 9,000 mortals under their belt with years of experience from Myanmar to Angola. Nothing can stop them. Spoke the sandy blonde-haired man confidently as they walked across a walkway with glass peering below into the roaring nightclub below. Naruto looked at the flashing lights, smoke, hundreds of dancers grinding on each other, all of whom were unconcerned about where their money was going by the sound of those talking below him. There's another group, Luke. One far more dangerous and experienced than the Chronia. If we can get them to join, began Dawn only to be interrupted by Luke. Naruto quietly followed Dawn and the young man named Luke down the walkway, his eyes narrowing in on Luke. He remembered Dessa calling Luke a shit, and whatever Luke was planning had to be big. If Luke was mustering a mercenary force of monsters and over 9,000 strong heavily experienced soldiers, he had to be planning a large-scale war. Naruto remembered from the Anabasis Alexandri that just one experienced Macedonian phalanx of 1,000 men could root an army of 20,000, given the right conditions. You really think they would ever side with us? They swore an oath to protect Camp Half-Blood. What makes you think they would ever side with us? Said Luke sourly, after all they are weaker than ever before and the Chronia have been crushing them at every turn. They sent 2 fresh recruits to spy on me and the Chronia snuffed them out. Does sending fresh recruits to accomplish such dangerous tasks speak highly of those who were once invincible? We both know the oath means nothing anymore. Never underestimate the will of those who aspire to be great. Said Dawn before stopping in front of a door protected by several well-armored guards. I'll take your advice into account. After all, you have the most experience in that regard. Stated Luke with a smirk. Luke's smirk fell flat when the whole walkway began to shake. Dawn's light orange eyes glowed as bright as the sun and Naruto nearly lost control of his invisibility jutsu and posture on the ceiling. The raw power she released made his gut churn and the hairs on his neck stand up. The room turned humid and Naruto's sweat slowly picked up from the top of his forehead. He had experienced many things in his life. From nearly dying of his wounds at the Valley of End. The pain of Sasuke's Chidori and the feeling of betrayal by his best friend were nothing compared to the despair unleashed by Dawn. Luke looked straight at her face with nothing but fear. Naruto couldn't blame him. If he hadn't experienced so much hardship already, he likely would have curled up in a ball and begged for Dawn to stop. Please stop. Screamed one of Dawn's bodyguards who had his hands clutching his head and was on his knees. Everyone in the room, even the fierce battle-hardened grunts who guarded the doors to whatever laid ahead, looked at the beautiful woman with the bright orange eyes in absolute fear. Naruto couldn't believe the woman who helped him out not long before could unleash such dread that it made Zabuza's killer intent look like a Girl Scout's taunt. If just one impassioned kiss could bring him absolute happiness. Just a bit of her raw power and dread reduced him into nothing more than a pitiful baby. I am sorry, that was out of line. Said Luke with the best of his abilities. Dawn's eyes went back to normal and she smiled the same smile that first made Naruto blush in her presence. Naruto wasn't blushing, no, he stared at the beautiful woman in fear. Apology accepted. Unlike Zeus or Aphrodite, I'm far more forgiving to mortals. Especially cute young heroes. Spoke Dawn as with a sultry tone of voice. Naruto only glared at Luke and he wanted to jump down there and strangle the scarred blonde-haired man with all his might. Luke and Dawn entered the room and Naruto soon followed them along with the escort. Naruto quickly made it to a far-off wall, all while his chakra still stuck to the walls like super glue. The room was dimly lit and there were a dozen comfortable-looking leather seats surrounding a large oval table. The only lights in the room came from a lit fireplace connected to one of the walls, from various lit Churchill cigars from several barely visible figures, and from a red light shining directly above the center of the red oval table. At the center of the table sat the most ominous gold sarcophagus Naruto ever laid his eyes upon in his entire life. Just looking at it made the hairs along the Jinchuriki's neck stand straight up. Luke took a seat at the head of the oval table, right where the fireplace stood directly behind him. Dawn took a seat by 2 figures with bright red cigar butts that flared in the dimly lit room. "Io Saturnalia!" yelled Luke, who got up from his seat with a large cup of wine in his hand. The 12 figures, one of whom was Dawn, got up from their seats and repeated "Io Saturnalia." "I've brought us all together to not only celebrate the most holy of holidays. All about liberty and upending the social order. But to come together with a single unifying goal, the destruction of Olympus. Olympus is the social order we need to upend, and with our combined strength, we may be able to do just that." Spoke Luke full of determination and hope. Naruto watched the whole scene with full eyes. Saturnalia didn't seem so bad. "I, Melano, goddess of ghosts, pledge my army of the undead to Lord Kronos. I can muster 6 legions of zombies when the day of battle arrives." Spoke one of the figures who must have been Melano in the most eerie and bitter voice Naruto ever heard. I Hecate, goddess of magic, sorcery, the mist, the night, and the crossroads. From this point forth, pledge my loyalty to Lord Kronos. With my help and the Impausai at my side, we will crush the Olympians and their children. Spoke Hecate in the dimly lit shadows, who was petting something that purred. Naruto became more and more confused. The way Dawn referred to Dessa and Sabin as old Greeks. The fact the people in the room referred to themselves as goddesses. The fact Luke and Dawn spoke of Zeus as if he was more than just a really fit crossfitting trainer. Were these people all on drugs, planning some sort of mass takeover of America? It reminded Naruto a whole lot of Charles Manson when he saw a documentary of the guy on TV. Maybe they were all on drugs and Luke was their cult leader, right? Naruto wanted to believe that, but the way Dawn struck fear in everyone while they were on the walkway. None of this was adding up. For several minutes several individuals pledged their loyalty directly to Luke's cause. One of the more interesting of the bunch, a rich Texas billionaire named Hank Hughes, who proudly proclaimed, "I pledge my loyalty to Lord Kronos. I got 24 heavily equipped Boeing AH-64 Apaches ready for takeoff. 2,000 devout followers of Lord Kronos in the American military ready to be deployed along with my family's fortune in military weapons manufacturing. Get me enough of celestial bronze and I'll be able to fashion whatever weapons needed for the coming war." Naruto had to hold in a laugh at how much enthusiasm the man had about serving Kronos, because the man went on. "My family served on both sides of the corporation during the Texas Revolution against Santa Anna, who by the way was a son of Hermes. We've been fighting for generations for Kronos' ideals for liberty and upending the social order. I served in the Cronia, fighting in wars for the freedoms of others. I remember rallying the sons and daughters of the gods to help bring the Berlin Wall down. I've spent my whole life fighting, and Luke may be the one chance I got to see the world be just for a change. Did my service and I'll do it again at a moment's notice. Them green campers will see what'll be coming when Hank Hughes gets a hold of them. You can believe that, Luke," said Hank Hughes proudly while puffing smoke from his cigar. If Naruto hadn't been helping Dessa with his fight against the Cronia, he'd admit a speech like that would have gotten him to switch sides. The other people around the oval table stood silent for a moment, and the golden sarcophagus seemed to glow a little after the speech ended. "Hank, I think you earned a spot as a captain in our army," Luke said happily. "Thank you, Luke, I'll whip our boys into shape," yelled Hank Hughes proudly. "I, Eos, goddess of the dawn and the mildew, pledge my loyalty to Lord Kronos. May he bring down the Olympians and bring a new dawn. One that is fair not only to all the gods and goddesses, but also to the mortals," yelled Dawn, and Naruto just stared ahead, unable to say anything. "We of Triumvirate Holding pledge our loyalty to Lord Kronos. As a sign of our loyalty we shall gift to you, Luke, the Princess Andromeda, a fine cruise ship to better help you recruit monsters to your ever-growing army. We also plan on loaning $6.5 billion to the cause. If you need any more money we shall be only a phone call away," spoke a dark voice from one of the figures around the oval table. "I'm Memnon, leader of the Cronia. I'm glad to finally pledge our endearing strength and loyalty to Lord Kronos' cause. We had roughly 15,000 strong mercenaries in our army before the 20th of December. Spoke the deep and authoritative voice of Memnon. Today, as of the 22nd day of Saturnalia, we now have 18,000 strong within our ranks. We have roughly 7,000 various monsters in our ranks and 11,000 well-experienced mortal men ready to die for Lord Kronos. I believe in about 3 years we may reach roughly 40,000 strong, and when we go into battle nothing will match us." Naruto made a mental note of the number of troops in the Cronian army. 11,000 experienced mortal men sure was more than the 9,000 Luke originally said. He had to give it to his awesome shinobi skills. Not only did he get to kiss a possible goddess, although more likely just a super sexy crazy woman with supernatural powers. He also had done it all effortlessly. All he needed to do was wait for the meeting to end and to get the hell out of the Saturn before he got caught. "Memnon, you shall be the Brigadier General of our new army, and orders of your deployment shall be posted soon. You have done well over the last few days, not only with recruiting, but also getting rid of the prying eyes," said Luke with a mischievous laugh, and Memnon followed suit. Naruto saw the fireplace roar brighter in flames, which revealed 2 severed heads on 2 7-foot-long pikes on either side of the mantle. Naruto nearly threw up from high up on the wall at the sight. Even though the room was dimly lit, he could make out dark and almost black blood dripping onto the floor of the room. The heads of the 2 prospects looked swollen and disfigured. Almost like someone had spent a long time smashing their heads until just weirdly misshapen masses of flesh attached to a skull remained. Cuts and exposed bone covered the flesh in certain places. Naruto could say many things about the disgusting sight, yet nothing would compare to the anger building up in his gut. "So tell me, Memnon, did you recruit or capture that monster Lord Kronos felt in Manhattan 9 hours ago?" asked Luke with a smirk. "I sent out 2 Strix to recruit it, but they failed miserably," spoke Memnon, slightly annoyed. "Supposedly I got word they were killed not too far from here." "Really now?" said Luke with some curiosity. "I had more faith in your group." Did they not try to coerce it onto our side? They were two hot-headed idiots who made their way through the ranks of the NYPD. I wouldn't have expected any monster to just openly attack another one, especially something posing with such high authority. They had already recruited over a dozen cyclopi that day," said Memnon. "Does anyone have a description of this monster?" "Supposedly Lord Kronos said it had the capability to evenly match a god in battle," replied Luke with wonder spilling with every word, but the room became silent. "So Lord Kronos hasn't figured it out yet," said Eos, making Naruto shudder. "What do you mean?" said Luke threateningly. The sarcophagus in the middle of the oval table rumbled. "The energy spike in New York City was no monster, but rather a cute young boy," said Eos, causing many of the people in the room to gasp. "That is impossible, no boy has such power at his disposal," yelled Melano bitterly. "He is also a good kisser. Isn't that right, Naruto?" asked Eos, who turned in Naruto's direction. All the people in the room did too, and the figure calling herself Hikate waved a hand causing his invisibility jutsu to falter. "How?" Luke asked, who only saw a 14-year-old boy with thick golden locked hair in a near gravity-defying manner, who had sapphire blue eyes, 3 whisker marks on both cheeks, and a look on his face like a kid who got caught stealing cookies out of the cookie jar. "Seems like the boy knows how to use magic or chakra to a wieldy extent," said Hikate while petting something. "Thing is, boy, you are powerless in my presence." But that the chakra flowing from Naruto's feet into the wall diminished almost instantly. With nothing keeping the blonde stuck to the wall, he fell nearly 20 feet from the air down onto the ground. A loud crack was heard throughout the room as gravity once again proved to be a dangerous enemy. All the figures in the room looked at him with surprise, except for Eos or Dawn. She looked at Naruto seductively with a grand smile. Naruto only wanted to hold his damaged chest and fall asleep on the cold floor. The Chronia failed Luke. "However, I brought Lord Kronos a great gift. Would you like to introduce yourself, my young Adonis?" asked Eos with a seductive smile. Naruto would have stammered an hour ago and fallen on his knees begging to do whatever she wanted. He would have killed and slayed every one of her enemies in cold blood if she had asked, but the spell she once had on him was broken. All Naruto could say in his defense was, "Why? I thought we had a deal." "The thing is, my young Adonis, is that Lord Kronos could use someone with so much potential and power behind him. Have you not guessed what you just walked into when you came to this world?" Eos asked while licking her lips, her orange eyes breaking Naruto's spirit with each passing second. "What do you mean he came to this world?" Luke asked, confused like everyone else in the room except for the orange-eyed goddess. "And you tell my young demigod, Naruto isn't from our world. He has the stench of chaos all around him, he is from another dimension, a plane connected only by chaos. One of the gods broke the most sacred rule and brought him over here into our plane. Now Naruto, introduce yourself to Luke and Lord Kronos." Eos asked in a commanding voice. "Did the fall hurt you?" The fall did hurt and he felt like he cracked a rib upon impact. Luckily for him, the Kyuubi was already on the job fixing him. The bad news was he couldn't feel any chakra flowing throughout his body. If he didn't do what they asked or answered soon, he'd likely end up just like those two prospects by the fireplace. Although the pain in his chest made just standing on his feet a challenge. "The name is Naruto Uzumaki, so you better remember it, cause I'm Konoha's genin extraordinaire, #1 party thrower in the Big Apple, absolute badass, and you guys don't know who you are messing with," Naruto yelled full of determination. If he was going to die like the other prospects or become a weapon for whoever this Kronos guy was, then they better expect him to go down fighting. "The haha, I like your fighting spirit, kid. How about this?" began Luke with a sneaky grin on his face. "You swear loyalty to Lord Kronos. And I can promise you a position in our ranks, money, women, and whatever you want. Not only that, but I'll promise to explain everything you need to know. Tell me, who are your parents?" Naruto looked at Luke, slightly surprised by the turn of events. What was he going to do? He couldn't use chakra. It had just turned off and he felt powerless without it. Not only did he lack any more tricks, he had been manipulated by Eos into falling 20 feet into a trap. The items she gave him were the only yes. Naruto took out one of the red marbles from the bag Eos gave him in the limo, causing the woman to laugh. "Go ahead, Naruto. Do it." The way she said that made Naruto take a 180 at the situation he was in. He doubted that her gifts would help him in the slightest, and that concerned him more than anything in the world. Naruto lacked a weapon, he lacked his chakra, he lacked a backup plan, he lacked all his tricks, he lacked his confidence as soon as Dawn became Eos, and he lacked knowledge about what even was going on. There was only one thing he had, and it had gotten him into this mess to begin with. "I could use your power now more ever, furball. So worthless. Why should I help out someone who never wanted my help to begin with? Because my head will be a fireplace decoration and that'll mean you dying too. Troublesome," said the Kyuubi in Naruto's head. All the eyes in the room stared at Naruto, patiently waiting for the Jinchuriki's response. Half a minute passed by and getting no response. seeing no way out of this mess. Naruto fell to his knees, making Luke smirk. Before he could bow his head, swear fealty to Lord Chronos. Naruto's eyes turned a bright crimson red. He felt the hot and icy chakra of the Kyuubi flow throughout his body, causing him to smirk. You cornered the wrong fox. Luke watched Naruto disappear in a blur, but Memnon was hot on Naruto's tail. After the brat, don't let the little fucker escape. Several heavily armored Cronian guards entered the room, and the guards already inside took out bronze swords, only to stop when everyone in the room saw Naruto standing atop the golden sarcophagus. Luke glared furiously at Naruto and yelled, "You will regret this. He can't get rid of his magic." Before Hikage could do anything, everyone heard Naruto yell, "Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." The room erupted in a massive cloud of smoke, and Naruto was already out the door, letting his 800 shadow clones deal with Chrono's cronies. As soon as Naruto kicked open the door to the glass walkway, he was met with 7 armed guards with bronze swords already drawn out. Hearing dozens of clones pop and more clouds of smoke in the other room, Naruto cracked his neck and sighed. Another fight. "Erg," yelled the guard closest to Naruto, who swung his blade with the clear intent on slicing the blonde's head off. Naruto ducked under the quick swing and punched the guard in the man's chest. The added strength of the Kyuubi's chakra propelled the poor Cronian guardsman through the glass walkway and into the dance floor below, causing everyone in the club to scream. Gunshots and the sound of heavy fighting below soon erupted below in a cacophony of total chaos. Dozens of men and women were already fighting various Cronian troops below on the dance floor. Stray bullets and the loud foul pop of burned metal echoed throughout the nightclub, including the glass walkway. Naruto dodged another Cronian swordsman and kicked the man across his cheek, causing the man to crash into several of his mercenary friends, giving Naruto several seconds of time to jump from the broken window he just created into the chaotic mess below. Naruto fell to the nearly empty dance floor, only to be pushed to the floor by a man pushing him to the ground. "Get some cover, you dumb twerp." Naruto couldn't help but thank whatever god sent Dessa. The white pony-tailed hulk of a man dragged Naruto behind a bar counter effortlessly, like he had done something of this sort many times in the past. Naruto felt the Kyuubi's power and the intoxicating feeling dissipate while the action truly began. Grime, soot, and wet liquid from the dance floor covered Naruto's face. Bullets whizzed overhead, smashing into the wall behind 3 other men who seemed to be Dessa's allies. They all were dressed in warm winter clothes, but had the same recognizable white sash around their hips, much like the one Asuma-sensei wore. The only difference between Asuma-sensei's sash and Dessa and his allies was that a bright golden star stood at the center of the sash. The star had a distinct swirl in the middle of a small circle and 16 bright yellow rays coming from it. It simply looked like a beautiful star Naruto seemed to have recognized from somewhere before, he just couldn't put his hands on it. Naruto came back from the land of confusion when Dessa sprang up from behind the counter and shot 2 blasts from a small wooden shotgun in his strong tanned hands. Dessa laughed when a Cronian soldier dropped dead with a spray of blood on the dance floor. "Hahaha, want some more, you bastards. Fuchui." Dessa crashed back behind the counter of the bar when several Cronian soldiers returned fire. Dessa then smacked Naruto across the face and said, "Mager. I sent you over to sneak inside of this place, and before any of my agents could help you out, you just decided to go into some woman's limousine like a mager." Naruto was shocked not only from the hard slap to his face, but also to the fact Dessa knew about him entering Eos's limo. Also, whatever a mager was if sure didn't sound like anything good. "Wait, you were outside of the Saturn?" Naruto asked over the sound of bullets. The whole club had the strong smell of gunpowder, blood, and alcohol. "You think I'd send a prospect alone into this with no help? Ag." Dessa yelled only to scream in pain when some broken glass sprayed into his face. "Enough, you two can argue later. We gotta get out of here right now before the Cronians send in monsters to counterattack against our assault," spoke a woman who stood up and started returning fire upon various Cronian soldiers hiding behind columns around the bar on the other side of the room. Dessa grabbed Naruto by the collar of his white winter coat and they both crawled near the edge of the bar counter while their ally suppressed the various armed enemies with their semi-automatic rifle. When they made it to the end of the counter, Naruto spotted a passageway leading out of the rave room to a bar below. Even more fighting was happening in the passage ahead of them. Before they could make a move, Dessa handed Naruto a large dagger that was the size of a regular sword. The dagger was around the same size and design of a bowie knife. It was perfectly made, and the grip of the dagger was constructed in the smoothest of wood. Naruto examined the razor-sharp edges of the one-sided 18-inch (46 centimeters) blade. It glowed a light gold in the lights of the bar, and Naruto realized the blade was made of some sort of bronze metal, with various ancient Greek letters etched along the curved keen point of the blade. "Take it. If you see someone trying to kill you, just thrust it into their belly. Now go," said Dessa, who sprinted with his head low and Naruto following behind him. The woman behind the counter courageously fired her weapon, buying them both time to escape into the passageway. From the corner of Naruto's eye he saw her get torn to pieces, her body lying still against a cash register, blood pooling onto the floor of the room. From the passageway Naruto and Dessa sneaked their way past other individuals fighting and crawled their way behind a bar. Police sirens were closing in on the club, and Dessa took that as a cue to half-drag the blonde Jinchuriki straight out of the front doors of the Saturn to a black SUV waiting for them out front. Naruto wasted not even a second and bolted into the car with Dessa behind him. The car lurched forward down Broadway, but several black and red sedans followed them in a hot pursuit. A dark-skinned woman with braided hair sat in the passenger seat with a window down, throwing weird bags at the asphalt below. The driver was none other than Saban, who cut his way in front of cars, all the while honking aggressively to get further down the street. "Can't you drive faster? Use some of that Bombay blood and get us the fuck out of here," yelled Dessa while reloading his shotgun. Okay. You speaking to best driver in New York City, friend," replied Saban, applying more pressure to the gas pedal. Naruto looked at Dessa, who lowered the car window on his side of the car and began firing rounds at the hood of a red sedan following their tail. Several police cars were following their pursuit, but after half an hour of Saban turning from street to street around the city, they were the only car on a backwards road by Central Park, right close to the edges of Harlem. "Okay boy, tell me everything that happened and don't leave any goddamn details out. I just lost 8 companions tonight getting your ass out of there," yelled Dessa. Naruto did his best to explain everything from his encounter with Eos, her gifts, the way Luke tried to get him to join his ranks, and he included everything, just only leaving the small detail of the Kyuubi out of the mix. "My guess there is no point in keeping it from you. You likely already have your suspicions, don't you?" Dessa said as the SUV turned onto Fifth Avenue. "Yeah, is everyone in this world on drugs or something? People were talking about being the goddesses of dawn and ghosts. I mean, you guys got monsters and weird female vampire things, but gods?" Naruto questioned while trailing off. "Look twerp, there are gods in this world, and every goddamned world whether we like it or not. First off, that woman Dawn you made out with, right?" Dessa began getting a nod from Naruto. "She is Eos, the goddess of dawn, and you are lucky to not have used any of her gifts. She is weakest only during Saturnalia. Those marbles contain some of her tears, and if they are even broken just a bit they will release enough light to blind anyone on the spot. You're smart for not having fallen into that trap, or else you'd either be blind or her powers would have quadrupled until her tears evaporated. Now give me that damn vial." Naruto handed Dessa the purple glass vial. He then threw the liquid out of his car window in fury. The glass shattered far off in the distance, and Naruto protested, "Hey, that might come in handy in the future." "Yeah, come in handy with getting you into God's know what. The only vials Eos hands out are rape drugs for young mortal men she wants to screw until their balls fall off. If you had drunk that shit back in the Saturn, you'd have woken up behind bars or in Eos's personal lair. So count your lucky stars you had some common sense tonight," said Dessa with the car coming to a stop. "Wait, are you saying the goddess of dawn wanted to have sex with me? Really awesome sex? For like who knows how long?" Naruto asked with a slight nosebleed. He could have lost his virginity to a goddess man if only Iro-sensei found out about this. His time with Iro-sensei sure rubbed off on him, cause if one kiss from Eos could make him forget about all the pain he suffered. "Look twerp, I can tell you that all mortal men who lay in bed with Eos suffer terrible fates. Either from her doing or from the gods. I know she may have gotten you to see stars in the dead of night, but she is siding with the Chronia, and no stars shine under those with dark hearts," spoke Dessa, bringing Naruto back to reality and making him remember the dread he felt back in the glass walkway. The Manhattan Sanctuary. The SUV parked just outside of a building along 35th Street, not too far from Naruto's home. Dessa brought Naruto inside of a near rundown building, and the group entered an elevator near the building's maintenance room. Instead of going up the elevator, the group went down into a large barely lit basement. The basement of the building was massive. It very easily was the size of the Saturn, with over a dozen bunk beds along both sides of the walls, with some people already sleeping soundly, not even the slightest bit concerned of the new arrivals. Naruto realized it was pretty late and wanted to sleep, however Dessa had none of it and brought the blonde boy into a dark office at the end of a winding hall. Dessa turned on the office's light, revealing a smooth oak desk with 2 flagpoles on either side of a map taped to a wall. One of the flags was an American flag, and the other flag was the Group 16 pointed star sigil with a white background. A map of America with dozens of blue and red pins, light along different locations on the map, with only one green pin along an island by New York. There was another map but on a different wall. The map seemed centered around the Balkans, Greece, North Africa, and all the way to China, with various markers on different spots in various countries. Dessa made Naruto sit across from him at a desk before saying, "I'm not going to blame you for being too ill-informed about the game plan. You passed all the tests with flying colors, and I'm planning on informing our leader about your deeds tonight. Not only did you find out about the Cronia's true strength, but you also helped to shine light on their new allies and enemies. As a sign of good faith you are advised and more than welcome to explore the halls of our Manhattan hideout until the end of Saturnalia. The forces of Kronos will now be after you, so get some rest twerp. Since it's holiday time we're serving brunch every day at noon and you won't have to worry about waking up for parade. Naruto couldn't really remember how he drifted to an empty bunk bed with a comfortable blanket caressing his body. He felt so tired and after spending over a day awake fighting for his life on multiple occasions. Sleep seemed like the best thing in the world to the Jinchuriki. This reminded Naruto of his past life as a shinobi. Hopefully, after a little bit of rest he could choose to kick some ass again. When you are trapped underground in a secret base belonging to a mercenary group dating back thousands of years, you end up losing track of your sense of time and place. Naruto still felt drowsy, but he pushed it away to get some grub at the brunch buffet. After bringing 4 plates completely full of food to a white plastic cheaply made rectangular table all by himself, Naruto began to dig in getting the various mercenaries to look at him curiously. "So if it isn't the ladies' man," spoke Dessa while taking a seat across from Naruto, "I've brought you a couple of gifts." Naruto looked at Dessa with a mouthful of scrambled eggs while Dessa pulled out a long necklace. Dessa handed Naruto a long leather necklace with a metal pendant in the shape of an eye. Attached to the necklace was a small leather pouch. "This is my gift twerp. It will help to keep misfortune at bay and shall hide you from the many monsters hunting you. Every member carries one," spoke Dessa, his tobacco-laced breath causing Naruto to swallow his scrambled eggs in discomfort. "How does that work?" Naruto asked. "Simple really. The metal pendant is an evil eye. It protects mortals from the influence of evil, whether it be your enemies or the gods. The pouch contains a scent that is different to anything coming at you. Monsters tend to get confused when confronted by such a thing," said Dessa, who used a dagger to cut up a sausage. "Now then finish up your breakfast and meet me in the training room." After finishing another 4 plates of free food, Naruto met Dessa in the training room of the sanctuary. A question that had been plaguing his mind came forward and right next to him was the only man he knew who would possibly answer. "Look Dessa, I'd love to thank you for your group giving me protection, but I don't even know who you guys are or what you represent. Even though you aren't a member I guess I can throw a bone in your case. You see Naruto, we have gone by many names throughout history. At one point in time some called us the Free Company, at another point in time we went by the name VA Guard or simply the Old Guard," began Dessa, making Naruto scratch his head in confusion at the history lesson. "Really, what's your name now?" Naruto asked. "I was getting to that twerp. Even though our name has changed since our inception going back before Alexander the Great, people from Gaul all the way to India learned nothing but to fear the Heteroi. So your super cool secret mercenary organization goes by the name Heman?" Naruto asked, slightly disappointed. "Heteroi, get it, Heteroi. Look, you don't see people here walking up to each other calling themselves Heteroi. That simply was just the name given by Philip II of Macedon. The name simply means the companions. The first demigod warriors banded together under the Macedonian king and were the most unstoppable army the world had ever faced. No one could ever match the might of the companions, no matter how vast or powerful the army, the companions were undefeated. You Naruto have more than earned a spot within the ranks despite your age." Dessa finished, causing Naruto to look at the man's strong brown eyes in shock. "Really? That is like so cool," Naruto said, nearly jumping up and down after hearing about how badass these guys were. "Hahaha. Now hand me that dagger I gave you last night," Dessa commanded. Naruto handed Dessa the Bowie knife he gave him during the Saturn raid. Dessa then brought out a small round metal keychain and then said the word Thaiki, causing it to turn into a small plastic toy space gun. Of all the things that Naruto least expected to happen, it was his cool Bowie knife turning into a simple plastic space gun one would attach to a keychain. Naruto began to sweat drop, having seen a similar one in Sabin's stand one day. "Oh, what did you do to the Bowie knife?" Naruto said, still dumbfounded over what he just saw. "This is yours," Naruto said. Dessa, who handed the keychain back to Naruto, simply pressed the trigger. Naruto pressed the trigger to the space gun and it turned into the glowing bronze knife before his eyes. The Bowie knife felt perfectly balanced in his hands. Dessa smiled at Naruto's fascinated reaction. "If you want to simply sheath the knife, just say the Greek word Thaiki. If you want to unsheath the blade, just press the trigger. The blade will harm both mortals and monsters. Like the Cronia, we forge our celestial bronze with tempered steel. Monsters won't be your only foe in the future, Naruto. Companions fight to protect Alexander's greatest legacy, Western civilization, so our foes are endless. Get ready, cause in 10 minutes we shall train until the end of Saturnalia," spoke Dessa, making Naruto groan. Christmas. Percy Jackson should have been annoyed. Ever since the lightning bolt incident from the previous summer, Percy made sure to cherish every moment he had with his mother. Every smile they shared after hearing about one of Percy's tales, every moment he blushed when she embarrassed him about emailing Annabeth, and every moment they sat at the dinner table just talking about whatever. Percy nearly lost his mother for good last summer, and he had to fight the god Ares and accomplish many impossible feats just to get her back. It taught Percy maybe the most important lesson of his life, that no one appreciates anything until it's gone. Perseus Jackson called his mother Sally Jackson from the living room, "Come on over to the table before the food turns cold. My uncle always used to tell me that kids are starving in China." "Mom? I'm talking with Annabeth." Percy shot back from his bedroom. The look Annabeth Chase shot Percy with her honey blonde eyebrow raised only made Percy blush in embarrassment. This was the first time since summer he had a chance to talk with her face to face. On Christmas morning no less. It didn't help his mother had to intrude in on his iris message. "Okay sweetie, but hurry it up. I got a call from Naruto and he should be over here soon along with Tyson," yelled Sally Jackson, further embarrassing her young teenage son. "Oh, you never told me about your friends, Percy?" Annabeth asked curiously. "I'm sorry, I forgot to mention them. Didn't really think you'd have been too interested in them," Percy replied honestly. If there was one thing that sucked about being a demigod, it simply was the double life of living in the real world and the immortal world. "Well, I'm just glad you got friends, seaweed brain," said Annabeth. "Hey. I didn't mean anything wrong by it," began Annabeth, slightly embarrassed over her comment. "It's just you don't know how hard it is to just meet normal people. You know, the mortal kind. The ones that make you I don't know feel." Annabeth was cut off when the doorbell to the Jackson residence rang 5 times in a row like a pinball machine. Naruto's universal way of signaling he had arrived. Before Percy could wave his hand to disconnect the iris message, he heard his mother open the door and say, "Oh my Naruto, it's so good to see you and you brought over so many presents." "Yeah, I thought I should get into the Saturna, I mean the Christmas spirit. Right Tyson?" Naruto yelled in his usual loud and cheery voice. "Yeah, he got me plenty of peanut butter donuts," said Tyson from the front door happily. Annabeth had a surprised and slightly questioning look on her face when she said, "Normal. Hey, where is Percy, Mrs. Jackson?" Naruto yelled, "I brought enough presents for everyone." Percy waved his hand and cut the iris message off before his mother could say something embarrassing. He rushed into the living room and saw his long brown-haired mother helping Naruto to set presents down on the living room floor while saying, "You didn't need to do so much for us, Naruto." Naruto looked Sally Jackson in her sparkling blue eyes before sadly saying, "I'm sorry I went a little out. This is my first Christmas and it's hard to explain it, but you guys mean so much to me." Sally Jackson looked at Naruto a little surprised. "You've never once celebrated Christmas before?" Percy saw Naruto shake his head. Even Tyson looked at Naruto a little shocked. If there was one holiday overly commercialized around the world, it was Christmas. Percy remembered seeing pictures of kids in Hong Kong placing presents under a large fake tree in a city square. It always hit Percy like a weight train, knowing Naruto had pretty much lacked any sort of childhood to begin with. "Hey, let's open up presents," Naruto said with a forced smile. Sally Jackson noticed the blonde's forced smile and said, "Naruto, you are as much a part of this family as anyone else." Naruto looked at Sally Jackson with wide glossy eyes full of happiness and smiled back. This one wasn't forced. Dodgeball. An underdog story. Birds were busy on the dying afternoon streets of New York City, eating away the leftover hot dog buns careless city-goers and tourists unwittingly discarded. They pecked and chewed the delicious sweet buns in haste until one Naruto Uzumaki got off his school bus happily. The birds cawed and fluttered away from the loud blonde-haired genin, leaving behind feathers in their escape. The hot humid city air filled the blonde with an abundance of energy, while most people would have drifted back indoors to escape such dread with their air conditioners. Days like this only made him smile. It brought Naruto back to the times he'd spend days, sometimes weeks, homeless in the warm humid woods of Konoha, with no one but himself. A somber thought for most, but Naruto learned much from that experience. His love of nature, his love for anything warm, his love for food, and most of all how much he appreciated his nice Manhattan apartment. Inside of that apartment so many new memories had been forged since he had arrived in New York City, almost a year prior. If there was any way he could thank his mother for bringing him to this world, he most certainly would. Naruto Uzumaki passed by many annoyed New York City residents walking the streets of the Big Apple as he nearly skipped his way from 7th Avenue across the many busy streets to 5th Avenue. He had much to be happy about. School would be over within a week's time. Naruto had spent the last 5 months since winter break focusing on his elemental training and studying his mother's books. Not only had he finished the tree-cutting exercise for his wind manipulation, but he had also learned 3 wind-style jutsus. One of them, he figured, would soon be his new ace card. Something on par with the Rasengan. If only he could completely master it. There was much to be happy about, but if he had to be grateful for anything, It had to have been the companion's necklace finally coming through on its supposed magical properties. Naruto had yet to experience another run-in with the Chronia or any weird monster since his winter break shenanigans. Even if the necklace was a bold-faced lie, it still looked cool, so Naruto kept wearing it. Once school was over, he'd have the entire summer to hang out with his two best friends in this entire world. Naruto couldn't wait for that to happen. As Naruto made his way over to the Fortis apartments, the blonde boy sent out a chakra pulse and looked behind him. "No me digas nada," yelled a man with a heavy accent to someone else who seemed to be his friend. Naruto just shrugged his shoulders and just entered the building. Nothing too abnormal. He lived in a neighborhood with a lot of foreigners from around the world, which in a way served the blonde well. He too was a foreigner in America, the only difference between them and the blonde was that Naruto was from a completely different dimension, connected by some sort of being called chaos. Also, when half the building speaks a completely different language, it helps a whole lot when those very people try to file noise complaints against the 7th grader on the 12th floor, who at the time was throwing a kick-ass party. Naruto entered his apartment and planned on spending the rest of the day watching SpongeBob or catching up on the war in Iraq, a topic everyone at school had been talking about. Well, mostly the teachers, most of the students just stared off into oblivion, disinterested in the whole topic. America, the land of the brave and home of free, was disinterested in their own wars. Back at the elemental nations where wars sprang about out of nowhere, disinterest in a foreign conflict, especially one involving Hai no Kuni, would have been seen as disloyalty to the Hokage and the daimyo. Then again, things were different in this world. Naruto was taken out of these conflicting thoughts when he pulled his face up. Only to see Dessa, the leader of the New York State chapter of the Companions, leaning against a wall, smoking a cigarette and looking out of Naruto's window in interest. "Are you going to close that door, twerp, or just stand there like you've seen a ghost?" spoke Dessa, who turned around to look the blonde boy in his warm, surprised sapphire eyes. What are you doing here?" asked Naruto after closing the front door of his apartment and throwing his backpack on the ground. Naruto saw that the door to his bedroom was wide open and a duffel bag he didn't own sat idly on his neatly made bed. Before Dessa could reply back, both companions heard loud banging against the door to Naruto's apartment. "Open up, brat," yelled Mr. Chen in his usual scratchy voice, "I know you're home." Naruto begrudgingly opened the door of his apartment only to be greeted by his obese, balding, and smelly landlord, who didn't look very happy. No, the man had a terrifying scowl with eyes full of loathing. Naruto never really understood why his landlord held so much animosity towards him. After all, Naruto always made sure to pay his rent and bills on time. If he had to guess, the man likely found Naruto to simply be a troublemaker ever since the landlord became burdened with dozens of noise complaints in various different written dialects, all originating and blaming apartment 1215 many months back. Who was the owner of apartment 1215? Well, Naruto, of course, but nothing major came from the issue due to Mr. Chen finding it too troublesome to translate all of the complaints than to just follow up on the incident. Ever since then, Mr. Chen made it his personal life vendetta to not only punish Naruto for all of the occasional pranks Naruto pulled on his obnoxious next-door neighbors who yelled drunkenly throughout the night, but to also get in contact with Naruto's parents. "Your lease is ending in 2 weeks, and if I don't get your guardian's signature, I'll make sure to call the cops. Don't need loud-mouthed kid disturbing residents in building," yelled Mr. Chen, who then made eye contact with Dessa. "You boy's father?" yelled Mr. Chen while poking Naruto in the forehead with a greasy finger. "Yeah, and if you don't get the fuck out of here in about 20 seconds, I'll make sure you leave one way or another," spoke Dessa after blowing out a massive cloud of nicotine-laced smoke, causing Naruto's normally mango-scented apartment to turn into an ashtray. Mr. Chen saw a leather gun holster around Dessa's hips and gulped. Fine. I'll leave forms for guardian to sign. Guess I know where troubling boy gets his attitude from, Mr. Uzumaki," said Mr. Chen, who then placed a form on Naruto's kitchen table. As soon as Mr. Chen closed the door, Naruto could vaguely hear heavy footsteps sprinting down the hall, accompanied by the panting of a wild boar. Hey, you seem to be making enemies left and right, twerp. Will I have to keep on saving your ass?" asked Dessa with a smirk. "In your dreams," Naruto replied. "Don't talk back to your dad, twerp," countered Dessa. "Exactly why are you here again? Also, why did you break into my apartment and go through my room? And why is there a duffel bag on my bed?" Naruto asked, slightly annoyed with the turn of events. "So ungrateful, twerp, you'll be the death of me, you know that," began Dessa, causing his sapphire-eyed pupil to look at him even more annoyed. "First off, you should invest in better security. It took me about 10 seconds to pick your lock. Second, I got a lot of important news to tell you and you ain't gonna like it." Naruto opened his refrigerator, took out a Coca-Cola, and took a seat on his sofa. Naruto was never a big fan of bad news. Every time someone important had some sort of bad news to tell him, it usually never ended well. For instance, Mizuki confessing to Naruto the night of his special secret academy exam about him being the one burdened with the Kyuubi. Naruto learned that very night why people hated him, why villagers attacked him, why people wanted him dead since day one. Better yet, there was the time he woke up after the Konoha crush and found out Jiji died during his battle with Orochimaru. The one thing that nearly destroyed Naruto's spirit was the day he got assigned on the Sasuke retrieval mission. Not only did he find out his best friend betrayed Konoha for Orochimaru, but the one person he trusted with his life on more than one occasion. The one person he considered his brother. The one person he thought understood him on Team 7. Ended up shoving a Chidori-covered fist just a couple of inches from his heart. So Naruto simply drank the soft drink many Americans loved, with a frown on his face. His normally warm sapphire eyes now turned dire. He was prepared for whatever horrible news Desa had in store for him. "Naruto, I packed your bags tonight because I need you to realize just how much danger you're in." Started Desa, his normally strong brown eyes now radiating just a bit of warmth and concern. "I'll sign those stupid forms, but in 2 weeks you are going to have to say goodbye to New York City for good." "What?" Naruto shouted in surprise. "Hey. You think I don't know how you feel? When I was about 17 years old I left my country and home to escape the Eastern Bloc just to come to capitalist America all by myself. With no money or guidance. This is not only for your own safety, but also because you'd be wasting the opportunity of a lifetime." Desa replied back, while lighting up another Marlboro Red. "Screw that." Naruto yelled back, his sapphire eyes now cold. "The only precious people I've got left in this entire world live in Manhattan. All of my other friends and loved ones either think I'm dead and I only just met you and you want to just take me away to fight your stupid war with the Cronia." Desa looked at the golden blonde-haired boy in front of him in complete shock. Naruto was wearing a blue t-shirt with a red, white, and blue eagle, carrying a 1776 American flag. His light blue jeans caught a couple of tears falling from his eyes. The twerp changed his brown leather chukka boots for some stupid black Converse shoes. Desa realized when he peered down in the boy's cold, ruthless, and calculating sapphire eyes that the twerp wasn't yet a man. He was still just a 14-year-old kid, but those eyes sure made him flinch, and few people or things could ever possibly accomplish that. Wait a minute, did the twerp just say this entire world? Was Naruto from another world? "What do you mean by this entire world, twerp? And don't lie because I'll sniff it out," said Desa before taking in another puff of his cigarette. "Okay, you caught me," replied Naruto with amusement flowing with every word. He then raised his hands up and said, "I'm from another dimension and I was brought here against my will. So now you know my whole life story." "So you are from another world," said Desa while rubbing one of his eyes. "Would have been nice to have heard that a while back. Like you have been honest with me from the get-go. You know the furball was right. You guys probably want to use me." Naruto vehemently said with sickening bright crimson eyes. His pupils now turned into terrifying slits, which only caused Desa to flinch and look at the boy in front of him in complete fear. The apartment dropped about 30 degrees in temperature and the power, madness, and pure malice coming from the 14-year-old boy was unlike anything the companion leader ever experienced in his life. Was the boy in front of Desa possessed? Naruto's abnormal whisker marks along his cheeks turned darker. The crimson-eyed boy released a disgusting aura that reminded the man of all the terrible things Pandora released from her box. Desa's cigarette slipped from his lips and crashed to the mahogany floor of the apartment in a flare of sparks. For a split second Desa wondered if the boy he saved many months back was some sort of abomination straight from Tartarus. The images of fire, death, madness, despair, and hatred for humanity filled him as he stared into Naruto's eyes. Worst of all, he felt the sadistic malevolence of something truly despicable staring at him for what may have been an eternity. Seeing Desa, the very man who had saved his life back during the Saturn raid, look at him in absolute terror, turned the 14-year-old's anger into shame. Like the incident at Monster Donuts many months back, the Kyuubi, Naruto's very burden, ended up getting the best of him. Looking at the strong brown-eyed man in front of him, who intimidated Naruto when they first met, turned frightened at his very presence. Naruto only turned his head away and let the Kyuubi's chakra dissipate. Why no, how was this even happening? Was the Kyuubi slowly taking hold of? No, the seal was still working fine, because if it wasn't then he would have lost control ages ago. So like everything in his life he had failed in the end. I'm sorry, Desa," Naruto muttered with cloudy eyes. With a guilt-stricken face and with all of his remaining courage Naruto said, "What you just saw isn't me, I swear. I was just scared and angry." Desa walked over to the 14-year-old boy in front of him and put two and two together. Luke would never have tried to recruit Naruto into his army if he had cornered a prospect with no weapon in hand. The Cronian bitch boy likely would have sliced Naruto's head off and placed it on a pike like the other two he had sent out. It had plagued the white pony-tailed man's mind for months for why Eos, the goddess of the dawn of all beings, would have tried to seduce Naruto. Now it all made sense. The boy had likely been cursed with some sort of demonic power from some other world. Whatever god kidnapped Naruto, they likely had done it in an attempt to use Naruto as some sort of trump card. Dessa suspected the boy in front of him of being a demigod. However, the energy the kid displayed in front of him made his mind race. There's nothing wrong with being scared, Naruto. Dessa replied back while placing a smelly tobacco-scented hand on Naruto's shoulder. I keep on forgetting you're still just a kid. I guess whatever that was that you unleashed back there, it's likely the reason why Kronos wants you in his army. Naruto turned his cloudy, troubled sapphire eyes in Dessa's direction. You know, the one thing that made me happy about being here in this world, as soon as I got here, wasn't the cool technology or just the fact there are so many awesome places in this world to see. It really was just for the first time in my life I thought people wouldn't be hunting me down because of my burden. Whatever your burden is, Naruto, I don't care. Your secret is safe with me, and I don't want to use you like some sort of tool in our army. I didn't come here to force you into anything, I want you to know that, alright? I came here because the Cronians are likely planning on attacking our New York City sanctuary any day now and are sending in more troops in and around the East Coast. Whatever your burden is, just know that it's likely the main reason why those cronies are after you. Dessa said with as much warmth as he could. If you promise to keep whatever I tell you here between us, then I'll tell you everything I know. Spoke Naruto while clumsily taking a sip from his Coca-Cola can. Why? Asked Dessa with a raised eyebrow, his brown eyes still full of terror. Cause I don't want you to think I'm some sort of monster. Naruto said with pleading eyes. DSK, you're still just a brat to me. Said Dessa with uncertainty, causing Naruto to smile just a bit. Well, I guess everything began the day I was born. In my world there are immensely powerful beings that are completely made out an energy source called chakra. Began Naruto, causing Dessa to take out another Marlboro Red from his pack. Naruto raised an eyebrow, but Dessa just raised his shoulders, then lit a cigarette. You lost me at chakra, twerp, so just go on. I'll need a smoke for all of this. Anyways, chakra encompassed everything that is living, and it combines the physical and spiritual energy. Okay, so in your world you're a bunch of GD wannabes. Started Dessa, who seemed unimpressed. I know what you're talking about now, chakra, right? Hadn't heard someone say that in several decades. Never heard of anyone ever using it to the effects of a hardened magician though. Guess you never were using magic, but rather a variant. Naruto looked at Dessa slightly confused. He never expected the people in this world to possess any knowledge relating to chakra. Wait a minute, you know what chakra is? Naruto asked, his jaw nearly falling to the floor. Well, to an extent, it's very similar to mana energy in a lot of ways. People have known about chakra in this world for thousands of years. I've been to Nepal on several occasions and learned a thing or two about it, and they called it chakra too. In our world no one that I know of has even the slightest ability to use it like you can. Explained Dessa, now get to the point. Alright, so in my world there are beings completely made out of chakra called Biju. My dad sealed the most powerful one in my gut the day I was born, Naruto said before continuing on. After explaining to Dessa about his world, about the way kids grew up to be shinobi, how his father placed a Kyuubi in his gut to save Konoha, how everyone in Konoha wanted nothing to do with him, the beatings, the Chunin exams, Akatsuki, and the vampires. Dessa looked at Naruto slightly surprised and furious. Naruto gulped, not quite sure if the one person he had just come clean to about his past thought of him as some sort of monster. Dessa on the other hand felt disgusted by Naruto's tale. It had been a good while since Dessa saw or heard something so blatantly horrific. The fact that the people in that world wanted Naruto to suffer, to be turned into a weaken, and for him to die the cherry warm twerp in front of him. The gods surely blessed the sapphire-eyed boy with a resolve stronger than most. If he had been in Naruto's shoes, he would have likely released the boy's burden years ago just to get back at them. They both said nothing for about 5 minutes. The only noise in the whole apartment came from Dessa puffing out smoke and replacing his used-up cigarette with a new one. Twerp, that is the reason why I need to get you out of Manhattan. You aren't safe here no matter how strong you think you are, the Cronia have spies everywhere and their resources are endless. I'll be leaving the city within 2 weeks with or without you. Said Dessa with a frown. What do you mean? Aren't you guys like the most badass army in history? Naruto asked. We were kid but not anymore. Ever since the end of the Cold War our numbers have dwindled to a fraction of what we once were. Not only that, but Hank Hughes, the captain of Chrono's army, has already contacted the FBI and the DHS, and both agencies have labeled the attack on the Saturn a terrorist attack. The only hideouts we will have left on the East Coast are Providence and Boston until things die down. There will be nowhere safe to hide around here by July except for headquarters. Explained Dessa, who seemed slightly tired. What do I get out of any of this? Naruto asked. Boy, we have some of the best tutors and teachers in the world in our ranks. You learn important things like philosophy, arithmetic, economics, battlefield tactics, siege tactics, strategy, different ways to fight, survival skills, and many other things kids should learn in school. You'll travel the world. Essa looked at the various National Geographic photos on Naruto's wall. Within 5 years I can promise you'll see things and go places you'd have only dreamed about while you were in Konoha. You mean Konoha? Naruto countered. He had to admit that the companions didn't seem so bad. Ever since before the academy he had always had the urge to explore the world and the unknown. The only other person to promise him that was Iro-sensei, and now Desa would be giving him that chance again. Naruto simply gave in. What other alternative did he have at this point? Tens of thousands of soldiers and monsters wanted him dead or alive. Various gods had joined forces against him. Not only were the companions promising him more than any before, but if he stayed. Naruto did not want to think about what the Cronians would do to Percy, Tyson and Sally. You're right, I guess I'll go. Good. After hearing about all of your deeds during Saturnalia, our leader is very interested in you, twerp. When she has such interest in anything, much less anyone. I'd say you have intrigued her beyond belief and she knows nothing about your burden, if that means anything. Said Desa, causing Naruto's eyes to widen. Before Naruto could say anything, both men heard light knocking against Naruto's door. Desa quickly placed his right hand against the leather holster of his revolver and begrudgingly said, "Ah, what now?" Naruto looked through the eye hole in his door and his face turned pale. He opened his apartment door for none other than Sally Jackson, who was still in her red, white, and blue Swede-on-America uniform, carrying a small bag of orange candy in her right hand. Sally Jackson had brown hair with a few streaks of gray in it. Her sparkling blue eyes peered into Naruto's still somewhat cloudy eyes in worry, and her normally quilt warm smile turned sour at the appearance of Desa chain smoking by Naruto's sofa. Hi Mrs. Jackson," Naruto said, slightly surprised. Sally Jackson was maybe the last person on the planet he would have expected to come visit him. He knew vaguely well Sally had taken quite an interest in him for many months now and kept pestering him about when she'd meet his parents. Naruto wondered if her upbringing made her more consistent in helping the blonde out. "Oh Naruto, are you alright?" Sally asked with her eyes narrowing in on Desa. She had been over to Naruto's apartment on only 2 other occasions and found the cheery boy to have been a pretty good influence on her son. Not only did they get along and play baseball every weekend together, but she had been thankful Percy's mind was occupied away from Camp Half-Blood's influence on her son's life. Sally knew how much Camp Half-Blood meant to her son, however, it didn't mean she wasn't worried that instead of her son playing with baseball bats, her son now practiced with javelins that took out her fine china set. It worried her the first 2 visits over to Naruto's apartment at how the boy seemed to lack any sort of maternal or even paternal influence on his life. She asked the boy many times where his parents were, and Naruto always seemed to grow cold and distant every time she brought it up. The only response she ever really got was when Naruto said with much sadness, "My mom left me and my dad, could we talk about something else?" "Oh nothing's wrong mom, I mean Mrs. Jackson," Naruto said with a foxy grin, his now cloudy sapphire eyes now warm. "So who are you?" asked Desa while snuffing out a cigarette on the counter, causing it to die in drifts of smoke and sparks. "Oh sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. My name's Sally Jackson. I'm the mother of Percy Jackson, you know. Who are you by chance?" Sally asked, her eyes narrowing further into Desa's strong brown eyes. "I'm his dad." Desa bluntly answered, his eyes narrowing in at Sally's bright blue eyes curiously. "Really now? Naruto, why have you not brought him up?" Sally asked. "Well, the thing is, he just returned from fighting overseas," Naruto said, hoping Sally would take his bluff. "Oh, I'm so sorry about my behavior, Mr. Sally said, slightly embarrassed with her accusatory behavior. For a split second she had been worried about her son's best friend getting abused by whoever this mystery man had been. However, Naruto's usual warm sapphire eyes brightened and the boy looked slightly happy. Maybe he was just happy his father had finally come home. "Just call me Desa," Desa answered. Naruto looked at the companion leader, slightly annoyed. Desa was as cool as a forest fire. "Well Desa, I want to thank you for your service. I've been hearing all over the news about all the fighting going on in Iraq. I would also like to say how much I love having your son over at my home," spoke Sally while placing a bag of candy on the kitchen counter. "I hope my terrific son hasn't caused you too much trouble. It always seems to follow him around wherever he goes," spoke Desa with a little bit of difficulty. Naruto rolled his sapphire eyes at the comment. Sally Jackson laughed. "No, don't you worry about that one bit. Naruto is one of the sweetest boys my Percy has ever met and he has been a fantastic influence on him. Also don't you worry too much, trouble seems to always follow boys around. Remember when you were their age?" "Yeah," said Desa while turning his head up as if trying to remember what being a 14-year-old may have been like. "Well, it's good to know my son has friends at the very least and a good woman to look after him too. Although now that I'm back home, I'm planning on looking after him and making sure he doesn't stay in too much trouble." "Really now?" asked Sally. The gruff white ponytailed man in front of her reminded her of Poseidon whenever the god got serious. Dessa seemed to have the resolve of stone, the toughness of a wild bear, and the softness of steel wool. She thanked the gods Naruto hadn't turned out to be so cold. "Well, I have to be getting home soon. Naruto, I left you some orange Reese's Pieces along with some of that orange candy you love. I hope you study hard for your exams and don't forget to come on over once school is over. I plan on taking Percy to get a new skateboard, and if your father would agree I wouldn't mind taking you too," said Sally with a warm smile. "As long as he comes back in one piece you can take the boy to Fallujah," said Dessa with a chuckle. Naruto and Sally laughed awkwardly at the ponytailed man's comment and shrugged it off. "Anyways, stay safe you too," said Sally before leaving the apartment. "Okay kid, I gotta get going too. I'll be staying in a hotel called the Drowsy Inn about 4 blocks from here for the next 2 weeks. I left a note card in the duffel bag. It has my number and make sure to call if you ever need to leave immediately. If I were you I'd make sure to pack an extra pair of clothes and any valuables you can carry for the next 2 weeks at all times. I believe whatever Hank Hughes is planning it'll be coming soon," finished Dessa. The mercenary leader then signed the forms on Naruto's table, then left. Naruto sighed and looked out his window at the busy Manhattan afternoon traffic. What a turn of events. Early in the morning. Immersion. Listen to home, we're finally landing. No matter how much Naruto tried to sleep, his eyelids would open and be greeted with the silvery white light of the moon and various flashing neon lights in the street. Naruto looked at his trusty alarm clock beside his TV, which said 2:15 a.m. in bright orange characters. Naruto groaned and got up, then got dressed in his usual attire. Light blue jeans, a regular white t-shirt tucked in, an unbuttoned red and orange denim shirt, and his old trusty brown leather chukka boots. The shoes in this world were very different from the ones in the elemental nations, but Naruto didn't mind. After all, his boots lasted him longer than any pair of sandals he wore back in his homeworld. It may have seemed weird, but whenever Naruto had trouble sleeping his usual solution was to train until he passed out. Back in Konoha it always did the trick better than any medicine, which never really worked on him too well. He had to thank the furball sealed in his gut for that one. With everything on hand, Naruto spotted out of the corner of his eye a piece of paper lying on the floor of his bedroom. Before leaving his apartment he snatched it and delicately folded the piece of paper down to a dollar bill. Naruto then placed the piece of paper gently in his wallet for safekeeping. Like Dessa said, keep all valuables you gotta carry on your person at all times. Naruto mused in his head. I think he was talking about money, weapons, and possibly those books you force your shadow clones to read, countered the Kyuubi. Shut up. It saves me time. Naruto walked the many deserted streets of Manhattan, down to an old abandoned church 10 blocks down 43rd Street. Naruto spent many weeks when he first came to New York City exploring the city in hopes of finding a suitable training field or spot to train in general. The abandoned church on 43rd Street had been purchased several months back and a construction company had plans on turning it into a brand new apartment building. So Naruto took liberties to train whenever he could inside of the building in order to not slack off on his super cool shinobi skills. Walking inside the creaking church, Naruto sent out a chakra pulse to make sure there weren't any homeless people nearby. When he got no response within the building, he continued on. The only response he received was some lone straggler down the road, possibly waiting to get drugs. Naruto sighed, time to kick some ass. After spending 3 hours fighting dozens of shadow clones to better his new Taijutsu style called Tang Sudo. A fighting style based in Korea that relies heavily on strong kicks and aggressive fighting stances. This new fighting style already appeared to be an upgrade over his previous sloppy Phoenix style academy students were forced to learn. Naruto smashed a clone over its head with a high kick in the clone's jaw, causing it to burst into smoke. Walking over to his denim shirt, Naruto left lying by a rotten pedestal. He then wiped away his sweat and just thought about taking a 5-minute break, now completely pooped out. Taking a seat on the pedestal, Naruto felt his wallet press against his butt and he remembered something. Slowly taking out his wallet, Naruto unfolded the most treasured item he had to his name. Naruto once again reread his mother's letter, something he had done almost every night before he went to bed in Manhattan. A ritual of sorts, but something that he looked forward to at the end of a bad. I love you so much. I saved you because you have always been my favorite child. So stay safe, don't die because I might be enough trouble for what I've done for you as it is. Remember son, fortune always favors the bold. Naruto reread that part over and over again, hoping to get some sleep. It usually worked. Maybe because it made his mind race over what his mother looked like or if he'd live long enough to actually meet her. Would she be beautiful and nice like he imagined? Would she laugh at his jokes or pranks? Would his mother finally hug him like Sally Jackson occasionally hugged Percy, who always blushed and said, "Mom," in complete embarrassment? Maybe his mother would finally tell him he wasn't a failure or a dead last. Maybe his mother would allow him to go with her wherever she was in this massive world. Immersion over. Instead of getting some sleep, Naruto stood atop the pedestal in the dilapidated church and channeled enough wind chakra to shout, "Chikara-yasha." A strong shockwave of light blue emanated directly from his throat, echoing throughout the massive church hall in a rumble. Wind chakra sliced and tore through nearly everything in its path, and the whole church shook like a god awakened from the slumber of his old domain. For a split second, Naruto had a look of worry on his face and bolted from the abandoned church. When, much to the blonde's horror, the church came crashing down, covering the street in a massive cloud of smoke and debris. Luckily for him, no one was up or walking 43rd Street this early in the morning. The bad news: all the lights within the apartments along the street lit up like hundreds of fireflies in the night, all in cinch. Windows opened and some man yelled, "Da fuck happened there? Ani call 911. Fucking terrorists crawling around here like roaches again. God damn it. People trying to sleep over here." Naruto ran away from the now crumbled church as fast as he possibly could. The last day of school. Naruto's last day of school at Meriwether Prep started out as normally as any other day. With the clear exception of him watching an epic wedgie contest between his entire first period class. Despite the various pranks Naruto pulled on Matt Sloan over the last few months, the Meriwether bully seemed adamant in his pursuit of causing as much terror upon his fellow classmates as he could without being caught. The chip-toothed bully never was because of his father's vast fortune. So Naruto hoped his various pranks would cut some sense into his hollow skull. For instance, before spring break, Naruto pulled an awesome prank where he made a shadow clone transform into a terrifying clown he had seen on TV. Called it. Naruto waited for Matt Sloan to be the only one showering in the locker room showers, where he then unleashed dozens of balloons from a ceiling scroll he had created and chazzed the chip-toothed asshole around until he ran out of the gym naked, crying about a killer clown chazzing him. In a way, Naruto felt a little bad about that one. A school social worker threatened to throw Matt Sloan in an insane asylum after they conducted an investigation where they discovered no such clown existed. Naruto figured Matt Sloan's daddy got him off the hook on that one. Another prank Naruto pulled on Matt Sloan consisted of the Jinchuriki handing out brownies to his entire class, who loved the blonde boy adoringly for it. However, the brownie he handed Matt Sloan was filled with enough laxatives and Arby's sauce that the poor bully spent the rest of the day glued to a toilet seat. Maybe he had been a little too sadistic with those two pranks. They had more than compensated for Matt Sloan being the catalyst for him nearly losing control over the Kyuubi during Saturnalia, which resulted in the sapphire-eyed Jinchuriki having to battle monsters and Cronian soldiers. The end result being some evil ancient Titan Lord wanting him in his growing army. The day Naruto more than planned on unleashing his best prank yet. Too bad PE was a long time away. Why Mr. DeMilo thought reenacting Lord of the Flies was a good idea made the sapphire-eyed boy scratch his head in wonder. This was to be Naruto's final exam concerning the famed English teacher at Meriwether Prep this year. Maybe for his entire life, if he followed through in Dessa's plan on leaving New York City to wherever the Companions' headquarters was at. Still, it didn't mean Mr. DeMilo's whole social experiment didn't work because the entire playground now had exploded into total chaos. Various 7th graders were playing full-on tackle, 2 girls were pulling each other's hair, and Matt Sloan was attempting to give his best friend a wedgie. Tyson stood idly by, unconcerned about Matt Sloan sneaking up behind him. As soon as Matt Sloan attempted to give the 6'3" 7th grade giant a wedgie, Matt Sloan was pulled up by his shirt's collar and soared into a dingy-looking tire swing nearly 15 feet away. "You freak, why don't you go back to your cardboard box?" Matt Sloan said, completely dizzy and out of it. Naruto narrowed his eyes on Matt Sloan as he watched Tyson sob. The gentle giant covering his head with his massive hands inside of the jungle gym. Before Naruto could do or say anything, Percy yelled back, "Take it back, Matt Sloan." Matt Sloan sneered and said, "You might have friends, Jackson, if you didn't hang out with that freak." Naruto stood beside Percy and saw his friend's cheeks turn blood red and his sea-green eyes turn wild like a roaring typhoon. Percy surprised him when he replied back, "I already got friends, Matt. Maybe you should try and get some real ones." The look in Percy's eyes were so full of determination it made Naruto remember just how surprised he could be at times by his best friend. Matt Sloan looked furious and went over to his big ugly friends, who seemed to have multiplied from 2 to about 8 duffuses. Matt Sloan yelled, "Just wait until PE, Jackson, you are so dead. You better watch it, whisker face. I'll watch your ass get creamed, Sloan." Naruto called back coldly, which made Matt Sloan flinch. Not long after that whole exchange, Mr. DeMilo came outside and checked the carnage he had unleashed upon his students and said, "You all now understand Lord of the Flies perfectly. You all pass my course and you all should never ever grow up to be violent people." Matt Sloan nodded at the comment and gave a chip-toothed grin towards Percy. Naruto only wondered what Mr. DeMilo would have felt about the political system kids had to undertake within the elemental nations. Never in Naruto's life had he been more tempted to make a smart-ass comment about any of that. Instead Naruto kept quiet. After first period Naruto walked out of Mr. DeMilo's classroom to find Percy counseling Tyson, who still seemed upset. I am a freak," Tyson said in between sobs. "No, Matt Sloan's the freak. Hey buddy, I promise I'll buy you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich if you'll stop crying," spoke Percy while placing a hand on one of Tyson's arms. Naruto walked over and said, "Hey Tyson, don't you worry. Guys like Matt Sloan always get what's coming to them in the end. Why should you strive to be just like everybody else? I'm not like everybody else. At the end of the day, there's nothing better than knowing you don't follow the same flock of sheep." Percy shot Naruto a grateful look and Tyson seemed a little happier when he said sourly, "You two are very good friends. I'll miss you two next year if I can't." Naruto realized by the way Tyson's voice trembled that the gentle giant may not even come back to Meriwether. Percy continued to help counsel Tyson by saying, "Hey, don't you worry, I'm sure we'll see each other in the fall." Naruto left both of them after that whole exchange. He realized something too, that today too may have been his last day at Meriwether Prep. If he took Dessa's offer by joining the companions, he'd likely never see his two best friends again. He already abandoned his precious people back in Konoha, against his very will by the way, and in 1 week he'd be doing the same thing too. After Percy and Tyson caused a chemical meltdown during their second period exam in Ms. Tesla's classroom, Naruto watched dumbfounded as men wearing hazmat suits charged into the science lab to clean everything up. During third period in social studies not much happened besides everyone reviewing longitude and latitude before their exam. If the academy teachers were awesome enough to allow their students to review before their exams, Naruto likely would have become a shinobi during his first try. Naruto looked at the map of Earth in complete and utter fascination. So many cool awesome countries, cities, and places to visit. While drawing a longitude-latitude map, Naruto centered his map around Macedonia and Egypt. Something Alexander the Great would have wanted. If Dessa was here right now, he too would have looked at Naruto's map in approval while puffing one of his cigarettes. Naruto grinned while he traced Turkey to the best of his ability. If he had to leave to join the successors of Alexander the Great, one of history's most badass figures, who rallied the children of the gods together to take over the known world, maybe joining them would be in his best interest after all. Naruto turned his head at hearing Percy protest, "Hey." Matt Sloan's pitbull eyes turned wide and his chip-toothed sneer unsettled the blonde as the bully looked at a photo in complete interest like he discovered the Holy Grail. The bully then said, "No way, Jackson. There is no way she is your girl." "Give it back," retorted Percy with red ears and roaring eyes. Naruto looked at the scene unfolding before his eyes in complete confusion as Matt Sloan handed whatever photo he had stolen from Percy in complete joy to his new entourage of duffuses. They ripped up the photo and turned it into spitwads to Percy's complete horror. Naruto had enough. He slammed his notebook shut and walked over to Matt Sloan with his fists clenched. Matt Sloan may have gotten a beat down from the sapphire-eyed boy had it not been for one of the duffuses who came to his rescue at the last second. The duffus easily picked Naruto up with one hand around the collar of his shirt like it was nothing. Naruto looked at the ugly kid who towered over him in complete shock. The duffus turned out to be a new kid and he had one of those stupid "Hi, my name is" stickers from the admissions office over his t-shirt. Naruto stared at the kids surrounding Matt Sloan in confusion. At least 6 of them had similar stickers on their shirts. All of them were jacked like a horse on steroids, with bulging muscles. They all had a weird sense of humor, mused the blonde, because they had names on their name tags like Skull Eater and Joe Bob. Naruto didn't think too much about it, mostly due to him doing something similar at the beginning of the year. Ah, good old Guy Sexington, too bad a teacher made him write his real name. Can't believe this guy just picked up Guy Sexington, Naruto thought, while the new kid looked Naruto in the eyes like he wanted to obliterate him this very second. "Nice for you to meet my new friends, Whisker Face. They are transferring here next semester and I bet they can pay the tuition unlike Lenny," spoke Matt Sloan in glee. "I don't like you," said the new kid by the name Skull Eater. Naruto felt the same way, but Skull Eater reluctantly placed him down, causing Naruto to back away slowly. Not in fear, but maybe he needed to go according to plan. It was all set up, all he needed to do was to wait for PE for the fun to truly begin. Naruto made sure to have timed the seal he placed on Matt Sloan several weeks ago for this very moment in time. Matt Sloan and his new duffus buddies ignored Percy Jackson. Naruto looked at his best friend, who stared at his torn picture of some person in front of the Lincoln Memorial in sadness. "Screw Matt Sloan. I don't care if this may trump the period blood prank and possibly physically damage him. He's got it coming." The bell rang and a tidal wave of kids took Naruto from social studies straight to the gym. dressing up in his blue and green tie-dyed gym shirt and grey gym shorts. Naruto placed a trusty necklace Desa gave him in his jeans, along with his keychain containing his super cool magical Bowie knife. Everyone hated their gym uniform at Meriwether, which made them look like weird hippies. Although Naruto didn't mind it too much. It reminded him of his outlandish orange jumpsuit that he always wore back in Konoha. Standing with the crowd of kids at attention in front of the coach Nunley, who Naruto assumed had to have witnessed the Declaration of Independence. The man had more wrinkles than a 7th grader could count if they had the time or patience for such a task. A pair of large spectacle glasses hung down near his nostrils, making the man look slightly loony, and he had a small tuft of greasy gray hair on his head. They were all surprised when the withered old coach reading from one of his Sports Illustrated magazines said, "We're playing dodgeball." "Can I be team captain?" asked Matt Sloan, his chip tooth gleaming. Yeah. MHH, answered Coach Nunley without looking over his magazine. "I want Percy to be the other team's captain." Yeah. MHH, Coach Nunley said with complete disinterest. Naruto stood by his team and shook his head. They were so dead. Matt Sloan's team consisted of all of the school jocks, athletes, the cool kids, and those 6 new kids who were about as tall and well-built as Tyson. On Percy's team it consisted of him, Tyson, Raj Mandeli, Corey Baylor, and the rest of the school's geeks, nerds, nobodies, and losers. Looking at his fellow teammates, Naruto felt they were entirely outmatched. Even so, they did have Tyson on their team, and he was worth half a team in any sport all by himself. Not only that, but Percy had his secret weapon, Konoha's greatest terror to date. Wade Orochimaru took the gold medal in that category. Well, one of Konoha's greatest terrors to date stood side by side Percy Jackson and Tyson. Together they would defeat these clowns. Matt Sloan took out a metal crate filled with hard rubber dodgeballs and opened it. A cascade of rubber tumbled to the middle of the basketball court and the bully had a satisfied look on his face. "Scared?" Tyson mumbled, "Smell funny." "Who smells funny?" asked Percy, slightly concerned. Naruto shrugged off whatever his friends were thinking. All he was concerned with was pummeling Matt Sloan with a dodgeball hard enough to chip another one of his ugly teeth. Coach Nunley blew the whistle and the game began. Matt Sloan's team rushed to the center of the basketball court and instantly grabbed all of the volleyballs. Corey Baylor hid behind the bleachers with half a dozen of Naruto's fellow teammates. Raj Mandeli screamed several curse words in Urdu which must have been, "Oh shit. Oh shit. Run." Of all the things Naruto had to be burdened with, it had to have been a team full of cowards. To make matters worse, by the time the other team got their dodgeballs in hand, they rained a volley of rubber. Dozens of balls traveled at quick speed all across the court. One of those balls smashed into Percy's chest, causing the sea-green-eyed boy to fall to the gym floor in pain. Naruto mentally cringed at the sight. Several dodgeballs sailed across the gym towards Naruto, who somersaulted out of the way before they could knock him down too. A third ball traveling at the speed of sound thrown by Skull Eater which whizzed past Naruto's left ear, causing it bleed. It would have likely taken his head off if he hadn't rolled forward closer to the opposing team. "Percy, duck!" yelled Tyson. Percy rolled out of the way as one of the dodgeballs slammed into the polished gym floor right where Percy stood. The impact of that ball actually destroyed some of the tile. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the opposing team, who were all laughing. "You could kill someone," yelled Percy in desperation. "I hope so, Perseus Jackson. I hope so," yelled Joe Bob. Naruto felt his gut clench and something strange happened. The 6 new guys slowly morphed before Naruto's eyes. They grew taller than Tyson at 8 feet tall, and their already ripped muscles turned into something Sylvester Stallone would gawk at. They had razor-sharp yellow teeth and hairy arms that must have been borrowed by a bear. Tattoos covered their bodies in the shapes of snakes, hula woman, Valentine hearts, and Joe Bob had a distinct one that said "JB loves baby cakes" inside of a huge pink heart. Whoever or whatever baby cakes was, just looking at the tattoo made Naruto shudder in slight discomfort. These guys were just like the Strix he encountered during Saturnalia. They were monsters. Percy had a look of horror on his face, and Tyson too. The rest of the Meriwether boys inside of the gym ran in terror at the spectacle. Matt Sloan with a pale face said, "Hey, you're not from Detroit." One of the giants with a snap of his fingers caused the gym exit doors to shut permanently right before poor Raj Mandeli could leave. With yellow teeth gleaming, the giant yelled, "No one leaves until you are out. We Laestrygonians will at last feast upon the sea god's child." Naruto flipped out of the way of another expertly thrown dodgeball, making him think, if only I took Tenten more seriously on her offers to train with Team Guy. The crowd of students were banging on the door with their fists yelling for their lives. The only people left anywhere near where the giants now stood were none other than Percy Jackson, Tyson, Naruto, and the still unconcerned Coach Nunley. The grizzled old fart of a coach simply turned a page in his Sports Illustrated magazine with the headline remembering the great intimidator Dale Earnhardt. Naruto dodged another 2 dodgeball strikes, making the 6 giants narrow their eyes in anger. Get out of the way, sniff, my luck has finally paid off, never knew we'd get 2 delicious heroes for dinner. Percy stared at Naruto, who seemed slightly confused, and shook his head. He'd have to bring that up later. Instead he yelled back, let them go. You want me, right? Not so fast, young hero. We need a little workout too. Let's play a game to the death. Yelled Skull Eater, and instantly the rubber dodgeballs turned into terrifying bronze cannonballs completely covered in flames. Before Percy could say something along the lines of them taking a simple middle school game of dodgeball way too seriously, he heard Naruto yell right on back, yo, ugly fucking ducklings. The monsters turned their attention to the blonde, who smirked right on back at them. Naruto stepped forward in front of Tyson and Percy and then yelled, let's go. The monsters each grabbed one of the large fire-covered cannons in their hands like it was a simple tennis ball and grinned. They then threw their cannonballs straight at the blonde at expert speed and precision at the blonde, who now realized he bit off far more than what he asked for. The cannonballs sailed through the gym at a blink of an eye, and Naruto didn't have time to make any hand signs for his newly mastered ninjutsu. This was simply bad. Then out of the blue, Tyson appeared in front of the dazed blonde yelling, Naruto. The Jinchuriki watched the scene unfolding before his eyes in horror as 2 of the balls pummeled their way into Tyson at breakneck speed. The rest of the balls missed. Each one crashed into the walls of the gymnasium, making the whole school shake. One of the cannonballs sailed through the cinder block walls and into Church Street. The whooshing of flames, the smell of smoke, and a shower of soot peppered the wake of the first volley. Tyson laid on the ground below Naruto's feet. The only Kasu Naruto stared in complete shock at the fact Tyson stood before him completely unscathed. The gentle giant held the still burning cannonballs in his hands and sent the projectiles hurling towards the giants on the opposing team. Naruto watched 2 of the giants' grins turn into frowns and then into a look of dread. The cannonballs smashed into them, causing them to explode into a shower of rotten yellow dust. Joe Bob growled out, impossible, kill them all. Not to be outdone, Naruto channeled chakra around him and ended his hand signs on the ram, then yelled out, Hyuden. Kyofu no Pureto Yoroi. A strong funnel of wind surrounded the 14-year-old, who smirked as a burning cannonball flew straight at him. The cannonball stopped roughly 5 feet from its intended target, caught completely inside of the updraft of the funnel of condensed wind Naruto now wore like armor. The cannonball started spinning around Naruto, picking up speed, and flew in a random direction over Coach Nunley's head into the wall next to him. The coach didn't seem the least bit fazed that he could have been splattered by a 16-pound ball of metal. The coach simply turned a page in his magazine and continued reading. Naruto wanted to protest. There were 4 giants tearing up the gymnasium. Dozens of Meriwether kids banging into the exit doors with all their weight and might. If the giants were throwing Molotov cocktails right now, Naruto assumed the man would just turn another page in his magazine. Coach Nunley, you gotta stop this game right now. Naruto pleaded with the coach as the giants prepared to throw another volley of cannonballs at the opposing team. You know the rules. Game ends at the ring of the bell. Also, don't throw any illegal passes. Spoke Coach Nunley, completely ignoring everything unfolding before the man's spectacle-covered eyes. Yes, coach. Spoke Skull Eater, who then threw his cannonball straight at Percy Jackson's feet. The great shockwave of polished gym floor erupted from the impact zone. Bits of flame and wreckage projected itself into Percy's gym clothes, and Naruto started to sweat in worry as bits of flame entered into the funnel of wind he had created. Naruto, what the hell is that around you? How the hell are you doing that? And you're on fire. Percy asked, completely shocked by what was happening to his best friend, who now stood in a swirling funnel of burning death. Naruto tried to breathe, but the funnel he had created now started turning into a vortex of ember. With no other alternative in mind except for possibly taking down the opposing dodgeball team while he still could, he charged straight at the giants in front of him. Erg! Naruto yelled. The 14-year-old charged in front of the dumbfounded giants and unleashed the built-up burning vortex into the surrounding giants. The fire spread from the blonde into his enemies in a 20-foot radius, further spreading the growing fire around the gym in a glorious display of his shinobi skills. Various razor-sharp bits of wind chakra sliced into one of the giants, who stood closest to Naruto when it had happened. The added fire may have been the icing on top. As soon as Naruto's jutsu died away, he looked down and found 3 of the giants on the ground, still completely unscathed from his attack. The Laestrygonian simply brushed off the flames like it was water and smirked. Naruto flipped 10 feet away from the giants and landed in the newly formed Meriwether gym crater. The group of students tried to hide inside of the locker room but stopped in their tracks as a cannonball whooshed through the locker room walls. The built-up gas from hundreds of boys gave in and a massive explosion roared from the locker room, showering the gym floor of various clothes and shoes. Naruto stared at Percy in horror as another bronze cannonball aimed directly at Percy soared through the air. However, at the last second Tyson caught another ball and threw it directly back at the opposing team. Another explosion of bronze shrapnel showered into two of the giants. The only thing left of their existence was another cloud of yellow dust. The last Laestrygonian growled and spat curses in a gargled language. The giant then threw a comet straight at Tyson and it traveled over Coach Nunley's head in a line of bright orange. Tyson, who was jumping in the air cheering after his miraculous display of dodgeball sportsmanship, got caught off guard at the very last second. A great whoosh and a loud splat sent Tyson into the wall behind him. Several cinder blocks fell on top of the dirty Meriwether boy who clutched his head. Naruto appeared behind Joe Bob in a near blur and smashed the giant's head with an expertly landed axe kick in the behemoth's head. The giant angrily yelled, "I'm gonna enjoy chewing on your bones one at a time." Naruto continued his assault. By using as much chakra as he could pump in his body to prolong a continuous barrage of taijutsu moves. Percy charged forward now that the giant's attention was occupied by his blonde best friend. His jeans laid sprawled on the ground at Joe Bob's feet. As soon as Percy made it within 5 feet of Joe Bob. By some miraculous touch of fate, the giant swatted his right arm at just the right angle at the right time to bring Naruto's assault to a dead stop. Naruto flew 30 feet into a crater right by Coach Nunley's feet. Blood poured down Naruto's chin, further staining his already tattered gym shirt. The blow blurred his vision in glowing specks of white light. If things were bad, it only got worse as Joe Bob gloated, "Victory is mine. 2 down and 1 more to go." Joe Bob picked up a cinder block in his hands and prepared to squish Percy Jackson in with glee in his eyes. His gleeful expression turned dour as his shirt ripped open. A shiny horn emerging from the giant's chest caused him drop the cinder block in shock. Naruto picked himself up and stared at the scene completely shocked. The horn kept growing from outside of the giant's chest and Naruto realized that was no horn. It was a knife. A celestial bronze knife. The giant screamed and muttered, "Ow." In a burst of green flames, Naruto laid eyes on a honey blonde girl with heavily tanned skin and stormy gray eyes. She stood directly behind where Joe Bob once stood and had a look in her eyes like she had fought 1,000 psychic wars in the past. A slight unnerving grin plastered her face as she sheathed her blade, completely satisfied, almost as if this was an everyday occurrence. The girl wore dirty white sneakers and was dressed in denim summer shorts showing her athletic build. Naruto only blushed and shook his head before he thought perverted things and continued up only to see an orange t-shirt that said Camp Half-Blood. She had a Yankees cap tucked into her shorts and a backpack slung over her shoulders completely covered in grime. The honey blonde girl smiled warmly at Percy, who still looked dumbfounded. Naruto shook away soot and ash covering his body and stood up. Matt Sloan appeared right next to the honey blonde girl, even more shocked than anyone else in the gymnasium, as he sputtered out, "Yo, you're the girl. You're the girl from the Pict." Matt Sloan never finished his sentence because the honey blonde girl punched Matt Sloan directly in between his eyes. The bull-eyed boy fell to the cratered floor holding his bloody nose as the girl said, "And you lay off, my friend." Naruto's attention turned away from the whole exchange at the sound of the exit doors of the gym being banged like a battering ram. Mr. Bonsai, the ex-Green Beret and current principal headmaster of Meriwether Prep, stood outside of the exit door glass. He did not have a happy face. Naruto had just faced 6 killer monster giants, but the look the principal shot him made the sapphire-eyed boy shake. Flames and smoke burned around Percy and whoever this mysterious girl was, as Percy stammered, "Annabeth, how did you? When did you?" "Pretty much all morning." Annabeth replied, "I tried talking to you this morning, but you were never alone." Annabeth shot Naruto a quizzical look he couldn't put his hands on. She analyzed him like a scientist looking down at an ant with a magnifying glass. It made Naruto feel slightly like she was the lead investigator in a murder and he was one of the suspects in the police lineup. Annabeth curiously observed Percy's friend, who she vaguely remembered from Christmas. She noticed how his busted-up lips started closing and healing before her very eyes. Was he? No, that would be impossible. Although he did create a funnel cloud in a completely inkless building and pulled martial art moves like she had seen from one of her little brother's stupid movies. Maybe. After a second more of her sending Naruto an uncomfortable look, she turned her attention back to Percy. "So that shadow I saw this morning. It was you?" Percy shockingly said. "Of course it was me, seaweed brain. What you expected it to be, Mr. D?" The girl identified as Annabeth said playfully. Percy shuddered for a split second and muttered, "Not funny." "Oh my gods, you were looking through my bedroom window," spoke Percy while brushing a strand of black wavy hair out of his eyes. Naruto looked at his friend and Annabeth, feeling completely out of the loop. How was he supposed to really react? They both seemed to have known each other from a while back and just standing next to them felt kind of like the sapphire-eyed boy was a third wheel. Not that he would complain or anything. It just only confused Naruto more. After all, they talked like they had gone to hell and back together. Annabeth blushed and said, "No time to explain." The woman who possessed a sickening goblin voice shrieked, "There. The exit door opened and Mr. Bonsai, accompanied by a dozen teachers and several police officers, stood dumbfounded at the scene presented to them. Dozens of 7th graders were running around like the sky was falling. Fire engulfed most of the gym in plumes of red and orange. Battlefield craters caked the once polished gym floor like Napoleon Bonaparte himself took aim at Meriwether. Coach Nunley stood reading one of his magazines in complete disinterest. To top it all off, Naruto Uzumaki stood completely covered in soot, ash, and grime at the very center of the gymnasium with Percy Jackson and a girl. Everyone's attention turned towards Tyson, who picked himself from the rubble of cinder blocks with his hands against his head saying, "Head hurts." Matt Sloan turned towards Mr. Bonsai. He looked at Percy in complete fear, but Whiskers had to have taken the cake on his enemies list. It was all Naruto's fault. Right, Coach Nunley? Before the grizzled old coach could say anything, sparks shot out of Matt Sloan's gym shorts and the intercom began playing Fire on the Mountain by the Grateful Dead. Mr. Bonsai looked around him along with all the teachers as if the intercom was possessed. Naruto stared confused as Matt Sloan started rolling on the cratered floor of the gym, trying to stop the sparks from burning his clothes until Naruto remembered something. His prank. Immersion. Play Grateful Dead Fire on the Mountain. Mr. Bonsai and several police officers tackled Matt Sloan and handcuffed the boy as soon as Coach Nunley said, he did it. While pointing a bony finger at Matt Sloan. Annabeth took that as her cue, meet me outside and bring them. She pointed to both Naruto and Tyson. She disappeared at the blink of an eye. Percy grabbed his jeans and Naruto his clothes, making sure to place the companion's necklace back around his neck. Naruto then helped Percy carry Tyson through one of the holes in the gym wall. In the corner of his eye he saw Mr. DeMilo dancing in the carnage of the gym and thought, best English teacher ever. They got onto Church Street, but Naruto stopped Percy and Tyson in their tracks. Look guys, can I meet up with you two in about 10 minutes? Why? Asked Tyson. Because I need my backpack. Naruto, there are police cars and monsters roaming around the school and you need your damn backpack. Percy had nearly had it. His last day of school had been interrupted by monsters and his best friend was going to risk his life for a backpack. Naruto glared at Percy and the jet black-haired boy flinched. Naruto simply replied, I'll meet up with you one way or another Percy, but I need my backpack. After all, his most prized possession still laid inside of his wallet completely folded up. End of immersion. Training trip week 3 1/2. We've been in Emerald Bay for 3 days. Exactly who are we even looking for to begin with? Naruto asked while he followed his sensei through the seemingly endless merchant wharves of the booming city. Emerald Bay was controlled partly by the Dravid Imperial Shipping Company and various other countries from the far west and east. It had been that way for almost 50 years after Hai no Kuni signed away the land after a peace treaty. The city simply was massive. Stone towers 15 stories high covered the city. Paved cobblestone roads were expertly laid out for carriages and carts. Thousands of people going about loading and unloading spices, goods, animals from around the world, all the while the sailors themselves spoke dozens of languages he never once heard before. Jiraiya didn't seem fazed. His student on the other hand, is the Deccanon. Naruto looked at various dockworkers striving with much difficulty to lower an artillery gun with strained rope pulleys. Gun power wasn't something new in the elemental nations, however word spread like wildfire of countries producing such weapons in droves. Just seeing with his very eyes the cast iron contraption of doom being lowered onto the wharf made the sapphire-eyed blonde stare at it in complete wonder and fascination. Man, he couldn't wait to tell people back home about this. Yes Gaki, it's a cannon. The daimyo from what I heard has ordered over 50 from Dravid in hopes to outmatch Iwa's new battlefield superiority. Hiro-sensei said as they walked over to a massive warehouse. Look, I want you to be very careful about the man we are going to meet. He's the most informed and most criminal spy Konoha possesses. Despite that, he's always given me the most reliable information and is always consistent. So don't say anything when we go to meet him. Got it? Scolded Hiro-sensei, making the blonde 13-year-old grin in anticipation. Ah, Jiraiya. Long time no see friend, you look as good as ever. Said a man from within the loaded warehouse. The man was seated upon a velvet red throne right beside an open crate of dried brown tobacco leaves and several jars of peculiar substances right behind him. The man had a golden toothed grin that gleamed from what little light shined within the dark warehouse. He had a scraggly thinly cut black beard, very tanned skin, and dark brown olive eyes. His dark black curly hair absorbed all the light within the room and seemed to be almost one with the shadows that danced from various lit candlesticks upon the walls. The warehouse workers continued working silently, trying to keep a distance from their leader, who now was surrounded by 3 large bulky goons armed with swords on their hips. Naruto found the whole scene before his eyes to be very sketchy, and someone like Hiro-sensei colliding with people like this also unsettled the blonde. The man looked Naruto straight in his sapphire eyes with glee and fascination before saying, "The name is Indio, head of the Emerald Bay Shipping Warehouse Company, at your service." "You too?" spoke Iro-sensei as he noticed Indio's eyes narrow in on Naruto. "Seems like you've brought another brat along. Reminds me a whole lot of the other brat you had." "Ha ha ha ha," laughed Indio, making Naruto feel even more uneasy. "Indio, I want us to get to business. Do you have one of the stone tablets of Sezu?" Iro-sensei asked, trying to change the subject and get to the point. "Iro-sensei, what's Sezu and what are these stone tablets?" The way Iro-sensei looked at him made him realize he had already broken his oath of silence. Indio laughed along with his henchman, then said, "Ha ha ha. I like this blonde-haired brat." Naruto Sezu was once a widely worshipped god across the entire elemental nations, going as far back as the Marzonic Empire. He was said to have been the most powerful god of all his followers, and they had temples of Sezu all across the elemental nations. Answered Iro-sensei with a palm against his face. "How come I never heard about him until now?" "Because Naruto, things get lost to time," answered the wise sage. "Like the supposed stone tablets that lead to the god's realm, or as some people like to call it, the greatest treasure hunt in the world, ha 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 ha." Indio finished. Naruto simply stared wide-eyed in wonder. What if Naruto drops his mask and Percy Jackson end here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.